On Great Escapes, we're going to travel the wilderness on the hunt for unique architectural design.
I'm Colin McAllister.
And I'm Justin Ryan.
We're designers and have travelled the globe renovating houses and adding our own unique flair to other people's homes.
Now, we love the great outdoors and the idea of embracing the wilderness into your home. And in fact, just how far people will go to achieve precisely that.
Building an escape in the woods presents magnificent opportunities for individual design, but also unique challenges to work in harmony with the surroundings.
Add to that an extreme North American climate from blistering hot summers to teeth-chattering winters, and these escapes must combine splendor with functionality.
We're going to explore properties that take that challenge head-on as we investigate homes that celebrate the landscape and work with the environment in interesting and distinctive ways.
We will be visiting dramatically different properties.
Whose homeowners are seeking design purity, employing one dominant building material.
We'll then be exploring the challenges therein of using that one material.
One owner would only contemplate building his entire dwelling out of glass, but is there method to his madness?
Oh, my goodness.
Another proud homeowner dreamed of building a timber-framed property meticulously pieced together with lumber from across the nation.
Wow!
And we'll be finding out how straw bales are useful for much more than just horse bedding.
This is completely and utterly, totally, wildly different to virtually everything that we've ever seen in our lives. So we've heard that the first place that we're going to see is a real sight to behold, especially given that in this area, most cabins are A-frame and built out of wood.
Yeah, but the homeowner, Larry, wasn't interested in anything traditional. Oh, no. He decided to build his cabin
entirely out of glass.
After buying a piece of property with a main cottage structure and a boathouse, professional photographer Larry Williams decided to completely reimagine the waterfront.
Top of his list, constructing a new work-live building over the water. First and foremost, it's a dwelling for Larry and his wife, but it also serves as a studio for both him and other photographers who can rent out the space.
Hey, Larry, how are you doing?
Hey, great.
Good to see you, sir.
Well, talk about first impressions. This is awesome.
Well, glad you like it.
Location clearly is everything, and you're positioning right beside the water with this incredible array of granite.
This granite is over 3 billion years old.
That's even older than Colin.
Wow.
And to have all of that glass is a really big statement that you clearly decided to make.
It's just absolutely simplistic and beautiful.
So would you like to see the inside?
I would love... I thought you'd never ask. Can we have a snoop around? Come on.
Sure.
I think the benefits of using glass, especially in the great outdoors, is that you're really kind of dematerializing that division between being indoors and outdoors. It allows you to detach from what your typically urban or kind of busy day-to-day life is.
Oh, my goodness. This is truly spectacular. No walls, however, no boundaries, completely open plan. How big is this?
It's just a little over 1,800 square feet.
Wow, 1,800 square feet of absolute purity and tranquility. I mean, just listen. Just silence. You know what this feels like? It feels like an art gallery.
It should feel like an art gallery because that was one of the criteria that we gave to the architect.
Now, as a professional photographer, you're using this as somewhere to conduct your business, as well as somewhere to retreat from the stresses of life. How do you combine those two functions?
Well, that's true. We actually built this to be used as a photo studio. So the glass is called ferrous-free glass. That means there's no iron in it. And it's the iron that gives you a green tint to the glass. It's really worth it because you have the beautiful experience of no color distortion as you're in here. It's the ultimate daylight studio.
You know, and you've got an amazing deck, unlike any deck I've ever seen. Curved glass. This is almost invisible to the eye. You know, you can look right through it. It's not an obstruction at all.
A lot of people might be concerned that when you live in a glass home, you could either be far too hot in the summer or far too cold in the winter. How do you balance that?
Well, you're absolutely right. The biggest challenge is the summer, cooling in the summer. So we have geothermal that use the lake water to help cool the place.
Geothermal heating in this context is actually geo-exchange. We take the heat out of the building in the summertime and deposit it into the ground or a nearby body of water. And then in the wintertime, we extract that heat and use it in the house.
We can open these sliding doors. Each sheet of glass is basically about 500 pounds.
Wow.
And you can move it with one hand.
Right.
Watch this. 500-pound door, two fingers, right?
Come on!
You have this absolute widescreen view of the lake.
Spectacular.
I'm pretty lucky.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
What's most special about using glass as a primary building material is its transparency. It allows the connection to nature.
Should we look upstairs, yeah?
Yeah, so-
It's a one-bedroom, this whole thing, isn't it?
It is a one-bedroom.
Larry, talk about a stairway to heaven.
Wow.
Wow.
It's interesting. Downstairs, you've used clear glass to really embrace the great outdoors. Upstairs, you've got this translucent glass, which gives you that degree of privacy.
Yes, we have privacy up here.
Okay.
It also is a ferrous-free glass, so there's no green tinge to it. So you maintain that beautiful white feeling throughout the place.
Wow.
Oh, hello. Retract that glass. Oh, wow. I mean, it really is truly spectacular.
We wanted it to feel clean. We wanted it to have beautiful light, and we wanted to have as little obstruction of the view as possible. And wow, did we get that?
You did.
You don't have to go to a window. You just have to be in here.
It seems like the use of glass, the position on the water, it's all about the connection to the great outdoors.
You said it perfectly. It's not about the building itself. When you're here, after a while, the building disappears.
Yeah. Do you know, Larry, clearly you're an art lover. You've got some beautiful pieces in here. But with this amount of glass, you are in the art.
Absolutely.
Glass is a really important part of this structure, and it's one that makes it all the better.
And where else can you actually have a bath and wave at passing boaters? That's kind of unique.
It is unique.
And it's absolutely breathtaking.
Well, thank you.
What an amazing space.
Brilliant location, fantastic design, and great, great atmosphere.
I think you can be modern. I think you can have loads of glass. And the idea that you actually can have glass to give you exposure and privacy is a major takeaway for me.
Everything about this spot is magnificent.
Timber frame homes are not unusual in this part of the world.
Yep, it would be hard to throw a stick without hitting a wood-built home around here.
But this next home, well, it's taken the traditional timber frame and given it a modern and contemporary spin.
Timber framing, or post and beam construction, is an ancient building method using large wooden beams carefully fitted and bound, with the joints secured by wooden pegs.
The techniques used in timber framing date as far back as the Neolithic age. Traditionally, the timbers would have been worked using axes. Present-day timbers, however, are mostly squared with bandsaws.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Good morning. Welcome to Stony Lake. Isn't it great?
Oh,
come
just
on.
incredible.
This is unbelievable. You ask yourself, where do you want to wake up?
Right here at 5 o'clock in the morning or at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's a great site.
This is, what, 6 years old?
It is.
What was there? You know, what was the original building like?
The building that was here before was a 100-year-old typical home. I decided to take it down, and I have to tell you, when I got here and those pilings were up, I thought I'd built Stonehenge.
Oh, my
I
word.
thought, what have I done? I've made a huge mistake. But by the time the building was there, it all came to scale. The timber frame ties in so effectively with the standing pine trees that are here. It fits without standing out.
Obviously, when you're building a home, there are loads of different types of wood that you can choose. And as I look up there, I'm seeing what I think is maybe Western red cedar, which is one of my own favorite lumber types.
Yeah, a tiny bit of it. There's white pine. There is some fir in the cross members at the front of the cottage. It just made some sense to mix it up a little bit. By the time it's stained out, you really wouldn't know one from the other. View from the water is terrific. The view from 30 feet higher is even better.
Fantastic.
To kind of like go back to timber structure is very romantic because it kind of harkens to that era of handmade things, pre-industrial, meaning they would take large hewn trees, they would cut them down, kind of shape them roughly into usable pieces. So essentially it was kind of like a tent structure built like that.
Wow. Look at the height in here. This is incredible. The wood, the exposure. There's so much heritage and tradition there. allowing the light to penetrate from the back right to the front of the building just makes it seem so, so large.
Frankly, the square footage is small, 1,100 square feet or thereabouts. What makes it so big, or feeling big, is 18-foot high ceilings. 2 bedrooms, a really unique bathroom situation. There is that opportunity for some loft space up above, and it was built with that thought in mind. No need to reinforce or do anything after the fact.
So it's a really welcoming and lovely contemporary design that uses lumber, timber, trees as its natural main component. Everywhere you look, different variants of timber, and it feels so architectural, yet it still feels really incredibly cozy.
And again, it's the wood that does that. It's all about the beams, and that's what makes it connect with the forest on the far side, or the big pine trees that we have out front as well. If this were steel beams, I mean, that just wouldn't work. That just makes all the difference in the world.
Timber is a very circular process. The trees are drawing down carbon from the atmosphere, and then we shape those trees into usable lumber. They sequester that carbon from the atmosphere while they are performing the function of the structure of our buildings, which they will perform for hundreds and hundreds of years. And then nature will then take back that lumber into the ground, decompose, and start the process all over again.
A contemporary building and traditional build qualities. And you can see that so clearly when you look up there and you see the pegs and the way the timbers are being cut. It's just such a good connection.
I was at the plant when all of these pieces were cut. 3 cranes swinging and moving all this stuff in, just like putting a big jigsaw puzzle together.
There's a lot of very technical techniques in this home.
The design was to cover up the pieces that join the beams together. And I said, I want to see that. It's another story to show, or another story to tell.
Timber-framed houses are renowned for their longevity.
The inherent strength of large timber posts and beams tied together using mortise and tenon joinery takes advantage of the strength of the wood.
The logs naturally crack as the wood in a timber frame dries. This does not compromise the strength, but it does have the benefit of further tightening the joinery as the wood shrinks.
What do visitors think when they come and visit you? What's their response?
Well, if there's a word, it's wow.
You know, clearly you did your homework. You knew
I did.
exactly what you wanted, what you didn't want, which is really important.
No disappointments.
Yeah.
75 years, 100 years from now, this place is still going to be here. Timber frame is timber frame. It's going to be here. We talked about a lot of what's going on inside. Let's go outside, because that is just such an extension of this property.
Yeah,
Come on
lead
out.
the way.
If I were to try and put into a nutshell what I like most about this particular part of your home is just the fact that I don't know where I am. Am I hanging over the water? Am I in the branches of a tree? Am I on the bow of a boat? It's just that lovely sense of elevation.
So let's call it an infinity lake house, because it has that feel. It's
does.
well above the
Like
water.
an infinity swimming pool almost. It just
Exactly.
goes on and
Exactly.
on and on. Talking in terms of the relationship to the water, were there any guidelines to which you had to adhere when building your home in relation to the distance to the water?
Well, the fact of the matter is, we took down an old building, so grandfathering allowed me to build on that same footprint.
Okay, so grandfathering being the fact that there was a building here already,
Correct.
which afforded you the luxury of being able
Correct.
to use that same footprint.
So having said that, we are actually 17 feet from shore. The code today for new building, we would have to be back 30 meters,
Oh, wow.
which makes a whole lot of what we've got here disappear.
I mean, were you worried about not using like steel beams, which would obviously be stronger? You know, you've got timber downstairs.
You know, I never ever thought about the idea of doing steel beams. Using timber ties into the aesthetic of the trees that are already here. And that was a design component that just, I think, adds to the whole feel and vibe, especially from the lake.
For sure.
So no, never, ever, ever thought about steel beams.
This house, from the rock up, is just perfect. You know, the relationship with the lake, the harmony with the surroundings. This is a successful home.
That's a nice way to describe it. I appreciate that.
Perfect proof, you know, if you want a modern structure to be friendly and inviting, you got to use timber. You know, using that natural medium, especially in this environment, really pays big dividends.
Timber, historically, it's done so well through our architectural builds, and there's no reason not to continue using it.
The embracement of this beautiful rock, you know, the sympathetic way that just sits there, a perfect crowning glory on something already beautiful. It truly is a home to look up to. I actually think this will still be here in 100 years. It really is the kind of design that will stand the test of time. So I want to be surprised by this next house.
Well, I think it's fair to say you're not going to be disappointed because this particular place has got the most unusual building materials of them all.
I know, right? It's straw. Maybe the three little pigs, well, they weren't wrong after all. All we have to do is find it. Now, is it turn left at the big trunk?
Straw bale house construction uses bales of straw as both structural elements and building insulation. It's natural, non-toxic, and very affordable.
Contractor Chris Magwood has built over 40 straw bale homes, including one of his first for his mother, Sandy. He's a leading expert on straw bale construction and has written 7 books on the process. He also teaches the trades for a new generation interested in sustainable new construction.
Aha!
Nice to see you both.
Nice to see you.
This must just be like a dream to live in every day.
This is a dream to live in. When I go to bed at night, this is what you hear.
Peace and tranquility. Now, you're a licensed contractor, and this isn't automatically the kind of place that we think of when we think of building a home. Can you give us a little bit of background about this straw-built home?
This is what I specialize in doing, is this kind of construction. And the idea behind it was trying to make the building as local as possible, as healthy as possible, as close to nature as possible.
How do people react when you say to them, OK, you know what, straw bale construction?
Right off the bat, people are surprised that it's not more obviously somehow looking like straw. They don't realize that the straw is just encapsulated in the wall.
This is truly spectacular.
Wow. There's a lot of space in here.
In total, what's your square footage here?
1,300-ish. It's very hard to measure a house that doesn't have any straight lines.
Exactly, ish.
There are a few basic ground rules, lots of windows, lots of curves, and bathtub in the bedroom.
This is a real breath of fresh air because we see lots of architectural styles and lots of different design styles, and there's often a bit of a homogeny, but this is completely and utterly, totally, wildly different to virtually everything that we've ever seen in our lives.
Straw bale, I think, architecturally is interesting because it uses a fairly light material in a massive way to achieve an insulating quality. And we seldom get the opportunity to use massive elements nowadays in building. So I think that opportunity to use something extremely massive as your building envelope is very enticing, for me anyways. And the fact that it's essentially, in its most basic form, a very, very cheap material.
I'm obsessed with practicalities, and I'd love to know, for example, where the power lines are. How do you bring the electricity in?
This house is off-grid, so the power's actually coming from the solar panels on the roof into batteries that are in the house. The electrician places the wire back far enough in the bales to meet code. We carve a little hole in the straw for the box to mount into. It's actually a pretty simple process to do.
Okay. The one thing that's slightly scary is the fact that there's a log-burning stove in a hay bale home. Should I be worried?
The fire rating is like double what building codes would require.
Oh, really?
Because the bale itself is so densely packed, and then you seal it behind an inch of clay plaster, which also doesn't combust. Much more fire retardant than a conventional house would be.
So this house has been a labour of love, and I can't help but draw my eye down to some of the photographs that you've got here, which catalogue the work that you have done.
The big surprise, they actually are bales of straw.
They really are. People think they're somehow processed differently, but really the way a farmer bales a bale is what we want to build with.
Everybody could come and help.
Yeah. Because we're going to use a clay plaster, we actually dipped the surface of the bale into clay, which meant that when we went to put on the actual coat, there was already clay for it to stick to.
With the invention of the hay baler in 1850, the use of straw to build housing originally gained popularity in Nebraska due to the region's scarcity of wood.
It has proved to be a durable building material. Straw bale homes can last for over 100 years.
You know what? This is a modern structure. It's 13 years old.
That's it.
So that's challenging for people. They're like, oh, modern houses, what do they look like? You know, they're all glass, they're all boxy. This is as modern as they are.
Yeah, and you know, for its time, 13 years ago, was way far ahead of the curve in terms of energy efficiency.
Head of the curve.
Yeah, we were
you did
hitting levels of energy efficiency that the code didn't even dream of at that time. So I mean, it's very modern in its performance. It's
You and Chris have built yourself a world which for most people would be utter fantasy. From the very start to completion, how long did that take?
It was about a year
About a year.
from start to move in, yeah.
How did the construction technique of straw bales inform the design of the overall vision?
The design process was sort of fluid, and then we even let the materials kind of
yeah,
speak
we
a little
did.
bit in terms of how things turned out too. So you'll notice sometimes there's little ledges in the house. Those ledges, they weren't planned. It's just the bales landed that way, and we're like, that would make a nice ledge.
Yeah.
Let's leave that. The bale walls are actually very easy to make the curves with. They're a medium that works for making shapes other than straight rectangles. If you want curves, it's the material to use.
These walls are just crying out to be touched, aren't they? And they're
Yeah.
cold to the touch.
Yeah, they stay nice and cool in the summer. The clay plaster is really nice for that. At times of high humidity in the house, the walls take that humidity on, but if it gets really dry, they sort of let it back. So it's got really gentle swings in terms of temperature change and moisture change.
So naturally air-conditioned, as it were.
That's right.
What stops the transfer of heat best is still air that is captured. And straw bales, they're like little tubes, and they are filled with captured air. It is precisely that mechanism that makes the straw bale such a good insulator. They're also about 14 inches thick, so when you get that much of any insulating material, it works very effectively.
It's lovely to think that this is such an ancient build type. Yet in this day and age, it can work incredibly well. And we concern ourselves with modern techniques and sharp contrasts and right angles, yet you've gone for the opposite of that. And you've created this home with these soft lines that just travel and comfort. There's something about this room that makes me feel instantly relaxed
You know,
and unwound.
You're right. There is a tangible
There
feel-good
is.
factor in here.
Quite often people will comment, it sounds really different in here, like it sounds calm in here. And what they're hearing is not all kinds of flat reflective surfaces that give you weird echoes and stuff like that.
It's like a big architectural hug. It's actually like being hugged walking in here.
It's true.
And so, Chris, as the designer of this incredible home, what would you say to other people who might be thinking about building a home from straw?
I would say there's no reason not to. It can do everything a conventional building does, and then it can do all the things that you've noticed. Tempers the indoor environment really nicely. It's non-toxic. You can play with the shapes and the curves. So you get all these benefits, and there aren't really any drawbacks other than your own anxieties about that you're doing something that everybody else considers not normal.
You've taken so many old traditional build qualities, but traditional build qualities that were good for a reason.
That's right,
Yeah.
You know what? If architecture is a feast, I just feel like I've had an organic three-course meal.
It's been a real environmental banquet. You're absolutely right.
Chris had these incredible ideas he picked up from 18th century architecture and decided to employ all these techniques in his mother's home, and it totally worked.
It's so respectful of the environment. It's been so well planned and so well thought out.
Straw bale architecture certainly has its roots firmly in the past, but there's definitely a place for it in 21st century architecture.
So, three very different escapes, but three fantastic properties. The one thing that they have in common, however, is the use of one dominant building material in the construction.
Glass
Timber.
and straw. Each material not only provides the key building component in the home, but that material also dictates the overall design of the structure.
In the glass house, the ferrous-free windows allow for the ideal unfiltered light required in a photography studio.
The timber-framed house uses traditional methods and natural materials to construct a home that blends in with its surroundings.
The straw bale house takes advantage of the natural malleability of the straw and the dense nature of the bales. This creates a house that is both a celebration of soft curves and a well-insulated home, perfectly protected from the elements.
The use of these very different building materials has produced three very different homes.
But with one thing in common, they're all great escapes.
On Great Escapes, we're going to travel the wilderness on the hunt for unique architectural design.
I'm Colin McAllister.
And I'm Justin Ryan.
We're designers and have travelled the globe renovating houses and adding our own unique flair to other people's homes.
Now, we love the great outdoors and the idea of embracing the wilderness into your home. And in fact, just how far people will go to achieve precisely that.
Building an escape in the woods presents magnificent opportunities for individual design, but also unique challenges to work in harmony with the surroundings.
Add to that an extreme climate, from blistering hot summers to teeth-chattering winters, and these escapes must combine splendour with functionality.
We're going to explore properties that take that challenge head-on as we investigate homes that celebrate the landscape and work with the environment in interesting and distinctive ways.
On this episode, we'll be talking to people who have never before built their own home.
But the very same people who gave it their all to build their dream escape.
One first-time builder spent a year surveying his property looking for the perfect view before even breaking ground.
Wow, come on. You know, some properties just stop you in your tracks.
Another drew on family history and local heritage before building their very first dream home.
Everything's big about this property.
And our last first-time builder decided to take the simplicity of condo life and transport it into the ultimate off-grid oasis.
I love the realisation of a dream when you know what you want and you go out there and you jolly well get it. I will never forget the hassle, Colin, of being a first-time builder in the middle of nowhere, but it came together beautifully. And so did the next house that we're about to visit.
Yep, it's truly a sight to behold.
We've all heard the mantra location, location, location. Well, this impressive 2,400 square foot escape, known as Black Birch, takes full advantage of its placement and sits naturally amongst the trees as if it's always been here.
One of the key elements to a great building is the way it sits on its site, to take advantage of the sun as it moves through the sky, and of course the breezes to cool the interior.
But sometimes these type of details can be overlooked by a first-time builder.
That's not the case here, however. It's clear that homeowner Chris and his wife Susan carefully studied the site upon which Black Birch was built.
Wow.
What?
Wow. Well, I know why it's called Black Birch.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm all the better for seeing this incredible place of yours. That mix of black exterior, the greenery, the water, the blue skies. I have died and gone to heaven. And this was your first build.
Can I take you inside?
I'd love a look.
Great, let's do it.
Windows are Chris's passion. He has spent his life building a custom glazing business, so it's no surprise that Black Birch would feature an impressive display of incredible windows.
Oh, hey, Susan.
Hey, guys.
Good to see you. Good, always good. Oh, wow. We'd standing outside, we were blown away, but coming inside and seeing this incredible volume, all the glass, all the black frameworks, and the furnishing detail, oh my goodness, off the charts. Oh. One of the things that strikes me immediately about this place is there isn't any drywalls, so it's significantly glass on all elevations.
Chris, you are the window guy.
I am the window guy.
You are the window guy, so this is exactly what we'd expect. Almost 360 degrees. It really influences the architecture.
How important to you, when putting this design together, was the landscape and representing aspects of what's out there inside?
I would say it was very important. In fact, we spent a lot of time. We spent almost a year on the property before we started building, where we just come in here with a lunch during the afternoon and just sit in the wooded forest and decide, you know, what view we wanted, what trees we wanted. The interesting point is, so much of the view was designed around the coffee machine. So when we were talking about the view, when we were talking about the perspective, that's our thing, and that's what we do. How would this view look while standing and making a coffee?
And all of a sudden, you're surrounded by the very, very best in nature.
And that's actually my favorite window.
We call that our snow globe window. And that's the window when you could be sitting in the kitchen and the snow's dropping or blowing off the trees, and it literally looks like you're in a snow globe.
Amazing. You know, it's amazing that you actually thought of that. And this is your first big build as a couple.
Well, we had the luxury of time. So we weren't on a time constraint where we had to move in here. We had tons of time to plan.
There was nothing here initially, was there?
Nothing. It was forest, dense forest, and we had to clear it all. And that was a huge, huge undertaking.
I really love the open plan. Everywhere you look, there's something else glorious to look at. And there's never a moment where you're thinking, I'm bored seeing what I'm seeing. How important for you was the open plan aspect, Susan?
Very, very important. We have a lot of family up on the lake and a lot of friends.
Do you throw a lot of parties?
Yes,
I
we
can
do.
imagine.
We do. We have great parties up here. So we wanted one big, huge open space where everyone can just mingle around and a great flow and very interactive. So yeah, that was very important to keep this space open.
I think part of the planning was we really wanted two separate environments. The main living area is very bright, very open, and very tall, whereas when you go into the bedrooms have a very different feel. The bedrooms are a little bit smaller, a little bit darker, and very quiet. So it's really and truly a retreat.
One of the stunning architectural features of Black Birch is this incredible two-story wall, a feature that divides the living area from the bedrooms. Now, not only is it gorgeous, but it's completely soundproof. One thing I'm noticing is I'm not seeing any air conditioning ducts anywhere. How are you cooling and how are you heating?
In-floor heating. We also wanted to be really warm underfoot, so we wanted to be comfortable.
Chris heats the house via radiant floor heating, which, although not a new system, is still somewhat rare.
Radiant floor heating is a system that injects heat into the floor. The radiant floor heating is transferred to the floor through liquid in tubes.
We don't have a cooling system. We've been working with something called an active house principle, and that is just having as many operable windows as possible, including entire moving walls of glass. So it allows for a very efficient airflow, so we don't need air conditioning.
So that's really fancy speak for open a window.
Pretty much.
Yeah, clearly. How do they actually work?
Would you like me to show you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It had to balance between as big as we can get, but not so big that we couldn't handle it.
Wow. And they are just seamless. You know, that is so simple to do.
Well, it's clearly all about that incredible view.
This is awesome. You know what? You can't get that in prescription, can you? You know, that feeling, that sense of connection to water, and that wonderful feeling of tranquility you get.
And you never tire of it, because it's always changing. So we could walk down here in the morning, and it could look completely different, and the sunsets are completely different again. So it's never the same. You could be in the same spot, but never get the same view.
For someone thinking about embarking on a build for the first time, what advice would you give them?
If I had to give any advice, is allow yourself the time and the opportunity to execute your vision and execute your vision properly, as opposed to having a date in which you need or want to be in there and everything else is a compromise as a result of that date, because we've seen it happen before.
Do you know, it's all about the relationship between the building and the location. Everything just works.
I like the fact that this home is so perfectly positioned within this area of forest. It's a big modern black box, yet it doesn't feel overwhelmingly out of place. Black Birch isn't just a home, it's the future. It really is, I think, a statement of what you can do when you put your mind to it to make a wonderful holiday escape.
It was the Roman engineer Vitruvius who wrote that the three principles of good architecture are durability, usefulness, and beauty.
The breathtaking Black Birch ticks all three boxes.
But now in our present day, we need to add a new fourth principle to the list, sustainability. And one of the best ways to make a structure sustainable is by preserving the past. It's hard to believe, but this impressive wood frame house has its roots in humble log cabins built by early settlers in the North American West. This style of wood and stone construction reached its peak in the grand stone and timber lodges built for the brand new national park system in the early part of the 20th century.
Lodges such as Grand Canyon's El Tovar and the Old Faithful Lodge in Yellowstone were massive in scale, but were remarkably cosy and intimate. The architectural style is known today as National Park Service Rustic or Parkitecture.
Okay, don't worry, Justin, it's not a prison. These walls used to be part of an old cooperage, and that, of course, is the place where they would make the barrels for whiskey and wine.
I wonder if they've got any whiskey left indoors. What do you reckon?
I think we're going to find out.
This massive wood-framed house stands at 4,850 square feet and is the brainchild of couple Steve and Renee, who were attracted to the property because of the ruined remains of the old cooperage, which occupied the site from 1933 until the early 1950s.
Guys! You know, grand rooms, great rooms, some are greater than others, and this certainly delivers. Everything's big about this property.
I'm thinking of the fact that this property is built on the site of the old cooperage. You've brought the wood detail in here again to reflect days gone by, yet in a modern interpretation.
When we go to the community and they say, oh, you bought the cooperage, my grandfather worked there. My uncle worked there. We used to play there as kids. So everybody that we've talked to almost has used this property, so why not have a great stone and wood building that matches up?
So, Steve, how does that happen? You know, you find a great property on the lake, amazing walls. How do you then turn that into a home? Because this is a first-time build for you two.
A lot of research, mostly in the States, Wisconsin, Montana, Missouri, Colorado in particular.
And we visited, too, as well, a lot of log homes, and we looked at the kind of how they were set up, how the rooms flow.
How tall is the ceiling? Because that's a mammoth.
It's 26 and a half feet.
26 and a half feet?
Yeah.
Well, how can you be so accurate?
I was up there.
Okay.
Yes, I did the staining and...
Staining on that, yes.
And put the beam up there with some help. I love the size of it because you can get lost in it if you want. You can go in your own room and it's great. You got the media room where you can go watch the sports and if you want.
And we love the idea that friends and family can come and that we're not like on top of each other. We can spread out. You can be outside, you can be down at the fire pit, you can be out on the water, kayaking, canoeing. So we love that.
Steve, is it important for you to actually capture a sense of history in your home? Because this is essentially a new build property, but it's got a great sense of heritage about it.
It was very important. My family was a logging family in Oregon. My grandparents came from Europe and had a homestead, 165 acres, and they logged that. Then we just built the family business up, had our own sawmill. So it has a little bit more than just wood. It's, you know, the blood of my family, too.
You know, Steve, I love that. You know, I like that sense of appreciation of the past, the connection with timber. You can see it in every single piece of wood in here. It's amazing.
Now, the flooring here I'm seeing is that lovely kind of weathered look. Was that inspired by the wood of the barrels?
Oh, it was definitely inspired by the wood of the barrels. And so I wanted to incorporate that in here. So this is reclaimed wood from an old airplane hangar.
It's lovely, isn't it? It's really fab.
It's amazing.
Sourcing reclaimed materials for a first-time build, you're using material which has already been harvested from the forest. So by using reclaimed materials, the energy which is used to produce a material, that embodied energy is already there. So that's one of the primary advantages of using reclaimed materials, as well as the aesthetic. If you want to have a home that looks like it's 200 years old, then why not use materials that are 200 years old?
So this room here, I call Cozy Cabin.
Okay, I can see why.
I wonder why. You know, it feels like a cozy cabin. You know, the timber is beautiful. The bed is fantastic. I love the antique-style bedstead.
And then we have the balcony where we can sit outside and we can look at the lake in the morning and have our coffee.
Isn't it self-indulgent to have an amazing space like this where the two of you can be together and it feels like the rest of the world just doesn't exist?
Well, you guys have done a load of work here, and this has been your first build, so a huge achievement.
And for anyone who fancies doing this at home, you know, they think, OK, I'm going to build an escape. What advice would you give them?
Start with the things that you love. Pick one piece that you love and then build around that. It has to be something that speaks to you in your heart. And this speaks to us in our heart.
Yeah. You know, being here on the site of the old cooperage, it's great to see it breathe again. You know, this must have been the centre of the community. It's been uncovered, and there are people here enjoying this amazing site.
For me, it's really exciting that Renee and Steve have built this place as their first ever home construction. It's a great big log home with all manner of fantastic detail.
Be inspired, be yourself. That's the lesson from this house.
It's the job of the architect to turn their client's vision into reality, and it takes a skilled architect to bring a first-time home builder's dream to life.
Black birch is the perfect synthesis of client vision and architectural skill.
The cooperage echoes the heritage of the site upon which it was built.
But sometimes a builder's dream is so specific they decide to be their own architect.
We love the simplicity of condo living, the clean, contemporary lifestyle, the feeling of a reduced amount of clutter. It's so de-stressing and makes for a way better life.
Yeah, so why not bring that feeling into the country?
Simon and Bram have lived all over Europe and North America, but decided to settle in the country to build their dream home because of Bram's childhood memories of attending camp in the area.
When a large waterfront lot with a massive shoreline became available, they snapped it up. And Bram was off to the races, designing the off-grid home of their dreams.
Simon, talk about the rough and the smooth, rugged landscape with super sleek build, and what a space.
Thank you. Do you want to come and have a look?
I'd love to have a look inside.
Oh, hello.
You know, it really is exactly like a condo. It's like a slice of a tower block by the lake.
That's the idea. We loved our condo in the city. We thought we'd create something just as livable out here.
Well, you've clearly done that. I love the realisation of a dream when you know what you want and you go out there and you jolly well get it. We tend to think of condos as a millennial phenomenon, but they actually have their roots in the German design and architectural movement from the 1920s, known as Bauhaus.
With their credo, form follows function, the mission of Bauhaus was to provide simple and functional spaces, based on a minimalist approach which features clean lines with bold and graphic colourways.
There's a very contemporary feel to this. It feels really laid out and precise.
For me, the great thing about this place is the fact that it is so simple. You know, you actually let the landscape speak to us.
These black windows really frame the trees. The star of the show is the woods to us. You know, we don't need anything else, really. We can just be here, enjoy the woods, enjoy the location. We love the clean lines of the windows, of the walls. We have space for our art. We even have our condo furniture in here because it seemed to fit in perfectly with what we had in the city.
I like the fact that you've taken something that most people think is a negative, you know, because people complain about condos, don't they? Oh, they're too small. So they really do dictate to you that you have to pare back to your lifestyle. And it seems that you've taken that as a positive and you've brought it here to this location.
Well, in this house, we have everything we need and nothing we don't need. So we feel that we're using every single room in the house. So, we feel we're really getting the most out of the house. It also makes it easier to clean.
Yeah, so you can actually enjoy this beautiful landscape without worrying about vacuuming.
Oh, exactly. I could just sit there and look out the window and enjoy it.
Now, in terms of your original plan, did you work with an architect or did you do the vision yourselves?
We actually did the design ourselves. My partner, Bram, he loves architecture, he loves design, so he sketched it out online, used some of this software, even put furniture in online, got it exactly how we want it, and then we sent it to an architectural drawer who drew up the plans together with an engineer.
Nowadays, with the software platforms that are, in fact, there's like freeware, there's all sorts of things that one can use to start to tinker with architectural space. If one is really interested in creating their own home, there's nothing to stop you from really going through gut instinct and looking at precedents that you like.
Now that you see everything laid out, does it correspond to your vision?
Almost perfectly, the way the light comes through, the way everything is great for entertaining with the kitchen here and the living room. It's almost, I would say, exactly to our vision.
This is your first time build, but you've complicated that even further by deciding to go off-grid.
Yeah.
How has that played out for you guys?
It really made sense for us. We like the idea of being off-grid. We like the independence of it.
Off-grid is the principle of not being connected to the municipal systems. So you're not connected to the electricity grid, the sewage grid, or to the water grid. You are producing all the energy that you need, you're drawing the water that you need, and you're dealing with all your sewage waste on your property as well. When designing an off-grid space, the first-time builder needs to make sure that they keep it simple, so they have good air tightness and good insulation.
So we've got 15 solar panels up the top of the hill facing the sun, 24 lead-acid batteries down in the basement, and they give us enough electricity, especially in the summer. We have so much electricity, we're thinking of selling it to neighbors or something. In the winter, there's a lot less sun, which means sometimes if it's a cloudy week, we've got a generator that kicks in and tops up the batteries.
Wow, so you're totally kind of self-sufficient in your own little universe.
Yeah, we are. You know what? When there's hydro out, we're just fine.
Yeah, exactly.
So it all sounds great, it all sounds really positive, but come on, be honest. You know, during this first-time build, it's not like you're in the city, in the suburbs. You're in the middle of nowhere. That must have been really difficult.
We're in the middle of nowhere, and we're on a very steep hill.
Yeah.
So that was difficult. And then, you know, we're in the middle of winter building. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's hard to get in here. First of all, we had to sort out the drainage. All the water seems to want to come down right here where the house is and right down where the bunkie is. It's a very steep slope down to the lake. We have to climb that every day. So did our contractors have to climb all the way up and down like 15 times in a morning.
You'd have legs like a mountain gazelle going up and down that particular precipice.
One reason why we chose this lot is because it has 500 feet of waterfront and 6 acres.
So
it is isolated. That kind of land is hard to find around here. And so, although it's a challenging lot with the hill, we chose to buy it.
So you very successfully championed small-scale living. What is the actual square footage?
So the actual house is 1,250 square foot, plus 100 extra for the covered patio out there.
So how many bedrooms do you have in here?
We have 2 bedrooms, but we also have the bunkie. We decided to keep this house up here just for us, because it's nice to have guests, but sometimes you want them to be a little bit distant. So that's why we've got a bunkie down by the lake for the guests.
It's a challenge for any architect to connect 2 buildings on the same property with nothing except design.
First-time architects and builders Bram and Simon rose to the challenge of tying this bunkie to the main house. It functions as overflow space for guests and echoes the architecture with the same simplicity of design, the same exterior materials, and of course, floor-to-ceiling windows with a spectacular view.
So, this is the bunkie.
Yep, there was a bunkie here, but we decided to take it down and build it on the footprint.
Whoa.
Oh, this is
wow. This is just unbelievable. The view, you know, nature, its purity, its proximity.
I really like this because it kind of serves all requirements. A little living zone here, somewhere to prepare drinks, bit of a snack, bed zone around the corner. It's got it all.
You can be very comfortable here. You know, you can stay here all day. You've got everything you need. You can just enjoy the lake and then come back here in the evening.
You've really considered its placement and how it affects the topography.
And we also considered its relationship to the house at the top of the hill, too. We kind of call it big box, little box.
Right, so there's a family resemblance.
Right, exactly.
I love it. I like the use of timber in here, you know, because you do blur the lines between the forest and the inside, timber floor, timber furniture, the kind of very pale timber on the walls. It all seems to work, you know, nothing is too painted. It's all really natural in here.
We took a lot of our cues from what's around us. So a lot of wood around us, a lot of greys of rock around us. So it makes you feel like you're part of nature.
I'm going to say it right now. I think I'd rather be here.
I'm thinking of moving down here, actually, myself.
So what was the most successful thing about this? You know, for 2 first-time renovators who have come from the city to a rural location?
I think this bunkie actually is it. You know, where else do you get a place where you can hang out so close to a lake? And this is just an oasis for us.
You know, I love it when opposites come together and create something positive, because this shouldn't work. But it does, you know, you've got this super smooth, sleek building and this incredibly rough landscape, but it all works.
It's amazing how time changed. You think in days gone by of off-the-grid living and you think of a real kind of hippie commune.
You know, producing your own power is super cool now. It's about being self-sufficient. It's about not putting a drain on resources. And it's about just taking control of your own destiny. I think it's hip, not hippie. Now, they say that fortune favours the brave, and that certainly can be said for each of our home builders, because they haven't made it easy for themselves by choosing a rural location for their first-time builds.
But it's clear, to build a great escape, these elements are important.
Careful study of the landscape and patient planning to hone your vision.
Build on those things that inspire, a sense of heritage and personal history.
Keep it simple and sustainable.
3 brilliantly brave builders, 3 incredible first-time builds. I'm feeling inspired.
Do you know, I feel really inspired as well because they're all so distinctly different. Yet I'll tell you something else they share in common. The fact that they're all great escapes.
On Great Escapes, we're going to travel the wilderness on the hunt for unique architectural design.
I'm Colin McAllister.
And I'm Justin Ryan.
We're designers and have travelled the globe renovating houses and adding our own unique flair to other people's homes.
Now, we love the great outdoors and the idea of embracing the wilderness into your home. And in fact, just how far people will go to achieve precisely that.
Building an escape in the woods presents magnificent opportunities for individual design, but also unique challenges to work in harmony with the surroundings.
Add to that an extreme climate, from blistering hot summers to teeth-chattering winters, and these escapes must combine splendour with functionality.
We're going to explore properties that take that challenge head-on as we investigate homes that celebrate the landscape and work with the environment in interesting and distinctive ways.
Now, in this episode, we'll be looking at what architects call scale.
We'll be examining the size and scope of buildings in the relationship with their owners and with the landscape.
What scale people connect with and what makes their home unique.
Architects work with 4 types of scale that range from the very large to the tiniest of spaces, all of them meant to be lived in by people.
At the smallest end of the range is intimate scale.
This treehouse is the perfect example, and so small, in fact, it's hard to believe people actually live there.
This place is off the charts.
In the medium range is human scale, or structures that people relate to comfortably. A great example is this cavernous Scottish longhouse, whose designer used human scale to make it livable.
You can see why it's called a longhouse. It's incredibly long.
At the very top of the ladder is monumental scale. Think stately homes. These are spaces that are meant to be larger than life. This Georgian farmhouse echoes the idea of monumental scale in the elegant portico and airy rooms.
Now, this is a kitchen.
Yeah.
It's massive.
It's amazing.
Now, when it comes to scale, you don't get much smaller than a treehouse.
Oh, no. You can say that this is the perfect escape. Up in the trees, away from it all.
As long as you're not afraid of heights, Colin.
Tree houses are having a bit of a moment. The drive for less impact on the environment has led some people to dramatically lessen their footprint and go up into the trees. These homes are often no bigger than the average living room. They're the perfect example of what architects call intimate scale.
This treehouse was designed by homeowner Lynn Knowlton as an escape to share with her husband, and it is literally a 5-minute walk away in her backyard.
Whoa! Is that a little wood nymph I see there in the forest? How are you?
Great. How are you?
We're good. All the better for seeing you in this incredible, elevated way of living. This is incredible. And tell us a bit about the background.
Thank you. Well, it's a treehouse. I hope you love it.
It's a treehouse on steroids. Look at it.
Yeah.
It's unlike any treehouse I've ever seen.
We love it. We absolutely love it.
What made you build a treehouse in your garden?
Well, our friend, she had a barn that's local, and we had a tornado come through, and it destroyed her barn, and we built this entire treehouse from that barn.
So that's like next level upcycling.
Totally.
That's so fantastic.
So did you build it for you? Was it for you and your husband?
We built it for our children. Except that we actually ended up loving it way more than the children. We almost never let them in there. We're like, this is like our little getaway, a nice little escape. It just became an adult retreat.
I absolutely love that concept. I mean, so many people travel so far and to get to their special place, yet you've got that in your own garden.
It is. I love it.
For the longest time, there's been a real kind of ambition for people to miniaturize their lifestyle, and scale has become a really, really big word.
Yes.
Small-scale living is something that really appeals to me, and you've taken this small-scale living and made it absolutely perfect. But not only that, you've stacked it up on high heels and hidden it in this tiny cluster of trees in your garden. Now, how big is that?
16 by 20.
Okay, so it's a really concise space, but it's so structurally well composed. I like the mix of the painted timber at the bottom level, the barn board in the middle, and then that kind of dark terracotta shade for the shingles on the roof. It really is very visually pleasing. And I bet when you're in there, it feels every bit as good.
It does, it does. Like our plan was to have it so that it kind of mixed in with the natural surroundings. When we first built the treehouse, it was considered playground equipment. We built it so long ago. It was long before it was something that we even considered would be a building. It was just a treehouse for our children. So we built it on all the existing trees right there, and they're all beautifully straight trees, and there was a lot of them. The downfall of that was the strength of a tree is not what they're considered to be structurally sound. So fast forward, many years later, we had to make the treehouse building code structurally sound, had to hire structural engineers, and so we put the posts in. But we made lemonade out of those lemons and made that space into a dining space underneath the treehouse, because oftentimes that's a space that's wasted. So we wanted to have a dining space and a place to lounge.
That's really clever planning, actually, because when your space is small, you've got to make it all work really well on every particular level.
Absolutely.
This place is off the charts.
Oh, my word. Lynn, can we never, ever leave? And I've not even been in yet. Can we stay forever?
Can we take a look inside?
Come on in.
It's like a little perfect, beautiful, rustic jewel box.
When you walk into a place like this, it's like walking into an adventure. It's like becoming part of a secret, a little vacation retreat, and just falling in love.
This feels so clean, like so tranquil. And it's tiny, it's not a big space.
Clearly, Lynn, what you're doing here is you're using every piece of real estate. And when proportions are small, scale is an issue, and you have to address that head on. And walking around, we can see that you're already doing that masterfully.
So glad you guys love it.
Off the chart
It's amazing.
special.
And we're up here in the trees, an incredible view of the forest. And just when you think it couldn't get any higher, there's a staircase. I'm really sorry. So sorry, exactly.
Yeah, please do.
I gotta get up here.
here.
Oh, wow. Come on.
Is there room for another one, Colin?
Yeah, get up here.
You very carefully occupied the space that you have and made it relevant. And when scale is an issue, the proportion of everything has got to have a relevance. So everything's miniaturized, but by Jove, it's spectacular.
So scale is very important for sustainability. There's no magic number for what's right. It's just figure out what your needs are and build the minimum you need to suit your needs.
Architecturally, this is so rewarding. It's not enormous, but very cleverly, you've packed in lots of function without each of those functions overwhelming the others.
Yeah, you know, the thing about working in a small space is it's nice to take every part and make it different. So, for example, all the windows open differently. One will slide. This one here, I love how it goes up on a rope.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And the structural pieces are mixing the old with the new.
I mean, obviously, when space is limited, you've got to be really creative in the way that you make it work. And you've done that so well, because there's lots of function in what's essentially a small room. Dining space here, wash space over there, living space, bedroom gallery up there. You've got an absolutely gorgeous treehouse.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I think it's time to get out of here, and I know how I'm leaving.
The slide?
Absolutely.
You guys are daring.
Come on, give it a go, Colin.
You ready?
Impressive stuff. Now, I feel like I'm sliding down my own treehouse birthing tunnel. Scale and proportion were obviously critical when putting together a project such as this, because it's small, but within there's space to dine, to recline, to chill with friends.
Small spaces can have huge heart as long as you attend to the small details. And the experience here is like no other space. You know, it is the feel-good factor to the 10th degree. It does have a tangible sense of greatness, of well-being, of escape.
I think it's fair to say that this is a masterful observation of how to plan your space.
We have a lot in common with our next homeowners. They're proudly Scottish, we're proudly Scottish.
And they, just like us, moved to a brand new country that they absolutely love.
And when the opportunity came for them to build a new home in their new place, they decided to go fully traditional.
And build a Scottish longhouse.
Longhouses are one of the earliest man-made shelters. They were a simple design, one long, narrow open room with a fire in the centre. In the winter, the cattle were brought in to share the space and help keep the interior warm.
Longhouses have one other notable feature. They're very large.
Homeowners and builders Scott and Lynn have kept the scale and proportion of the traditional longhouse, affectionately called the coo shed, Scottish for cow.
Well, well, well. What a place. My gosh.
What an amazing, amazing house. It is absolutely massive, isn't it? You know, you see it's a long house and it is properly long.
Tell us about this place, because it's completely spellbinding.
Scottish longhouse.
Okay.
What can I say? It's all designed from an original Scottish longhouse. It's 84 foot long in total by 24 foot wide.
So what typifies a Scottish longhouse?
Scottish longhouse originated way back. It was one of the first settlements in Scotland where families actually shared the house with cattle. In the wintertime.
Any cows in there?
No, just 2 dogs.
Okay, just you guys.
Yeah, just us and the dogs.
And it's exactly what it sounds like, isn't it? It's a series of rooms in a row.
Exactly.
Creating a long space.
Just a long space.
Looks like a modern version of a typical barn.
And that's probably accentuated by the fact that it's not punctuated by lots of windows.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, keeping with the longhouse style, there's very little windows to keep the hard weather out and stuff. We get the southeast prevailing winds in the winter time, and it just pounds in here. So in winter, we just close these over.
I mean, the doors are massive. I'd love to see them rolled back, can we?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's like a prison. You're not going in, you're not getting out.
No.
That is fantastic. It looks like a proper barn.
When we drove up, we saw a property of considerable scale. What is the square footage?
Square footage is just under 1,900 square foot main level,
Okay.
without the garage.
Okay, and have you got a basement as well?
Full finished basement.
Oh,
Yeah,
really? So
yeah.
that's, what, 3,800 square
Yeah,
feet altogether?
yeah, round about
plus
that.
a garage as well.
Come on in, I'll show you around.
Thought you never asked.
Hey.
Oh, hello. Oh, now this is really incredibly bright and fresh. Having been outside and seen that big, dramatic black exterior, the last thing I expected was to come into a big white space with tons of colour.
It's amazing. You know, you can see why it's called a long house. It's incredibly long.
I didn't really know what to expect when I came inside here, so to see this really modern, friendly family home and the big, expansive views, it's knockout. I think the secret of making an old architectural style work is to figure out what you need to do to change it to make it good for the modern day. And the windows are now large in this longhouse rather than small as they would have been, and giving you that fantastic view across the greenery to that century barn.
The history of the longhouse is basically flipped on its head because the longhouse was just the shed and it kept all the bad weather out, and now we want to bring the outside in.
The living wall's brilliant.
It's quite the maintenance, to be honest.
Is it really?
It really is.
But well worth it, I'm sure.
It really is. I absolutely love it.
It's all about the outdoors and the inside and that language that exists between both.
It's a good look, isn't it? And, you know, for me, you know, I like it when architecture surprises you. You know, I like to be surprised. So I love the idea that someone gets to the front door and they have this expectation it's going to be dark. Where are the windows? Is it a shed? You know, is it a barn? What's going on here? And then you walk in, you know, and it takes your breath away. You're like, and you got to just take a little second and go, wow.
Everything's very, very deliberate. And there's something fantastic about these massive doors that they're employing for opening up that entryway. That kind of scale that we don't get in a domestic situation, kind of like a barn. But when you get inside, everything's very, very tailored, very particular, and quite luxurious, in fact.
So you've got the living room, you've got the dining room and the kitchen, you've got bedrooms. What's in the basement?
We have a further 2 bedrooms down the stairs, a family bathroom and a full finished rec room and a pretty cool bar.
Oh,
a bar.
okay.
See, you know, no Scottish home should be without a bar.
Of course.
Exactly.
Now, you're a builder, so building your own house, was there anything that was a big stumbling block that created problems?
The eaves trough. I had to hide it because I don't want any overhang, right? So as you know, the house is basically like that. So usually, typically, they've got the overhang, they've got the soffit and the fascia and everything. So I had to come up with a design to incorporate the guttering in there, which is it's copper. So it's basically a copper tub welded all together, and all the pipes, all the downpipes are hidden inside the external wall. So the external wall is actually about 13 inches thick. You've got your traditional 6-inch structural wall with all the insulation drywall and everything else. And then there's another 2x6 on the outside of that, which is like a curtain wall, if you like. And then the siding's fixed to that. So that was one of the biggest challenges, was coming up with that design between myself and the designer.
The word is long, isn't it, in this long house? The island's long.
Even the kitchen units are brought out, the uppers are brought out flush with the lowers, just with that clean slit in the wall, and it's all long, it's elongated to tie it all together.
That's a great little trick that you've played there. I think that works really, really well. It's just a great observation of space and proportion because it all balances really well. Everything seems to relate to the next part of the house. And surely that's what good architecture should do, whether it's modern or traditional, making the people that use the home as comfortable as possible. There's a great word in Scottish, and you'll know it. I'm sure most people won't. Coorie. To coorie in, to gather together and to hug. For a really modern building, it's got that kind of comfort factor inside that makes you feel really cosy. And it is a big place, but it's not overpowering. Really good house. The Scottish Longhouse, such a fantastic old-world look at architecture.
Isn't it amazing to think that something from history could actually have so much to give us in the 21st century? The idea of gathering, of community, of shared spaces.
There's a resonance to that building that goes beyond bricks and mortar. There's something extra in there. And I think it's a big word to use, but it's soul. I think that house has got real soul, which is quite a feat of achievement for a building that's essentially, in description, a big black box.
I am longing for a long house.
Well, you know what they say, don't you? They say that bigger is better.
Ah, but what could be bigger and better than 53 acres of organic farm in the country?
Not much, to be honest, but I'll tell you what, I hope that our owners today don't put us to work in that field.
Well, I think we're going to find out.
Suzanne has created a business out of her lavender crop from which she distills essential oils. And right in the middle of these glorious lavender fields is the main attraction, Suzanne's fantastic Georgian farmhouse.
The Georgian manor house of Lavender Farm imitates the front of a stately home, the hallmark of monumental scale.
Georgian architecture flourished in Britain in the early part of the 18th century and lasted well into the 19th century. It reflected the taste of a growing middle class who wanted to mimic the monumental scale of aristocratic estates.
Georgian architecture became popular all over the English-speaking world because of architectural pattern books that catalogued every type of Georgian style from the very grand to the most humble.
This old Georgian farmhouse has gained 2,000 square feet of living space from a recent addition. The house is 4,600 square feet in total, and Suzanne makes use of every bit of it.
Suzanne, this place is incredible.
It's hard to be in a bad mood when you're surrounded by so much lavender.
What was your inspiration, particularly, to go for a lavender crop?
Just, you know, the therapeutic kind of rhythm to planting something and watching it grow and then using it for something. So, I mean, I've always been inspired to do that.
Yeah, there's so much space. I can only imagine waking up every morning and looking out to your 53 acres.
So has there been a farmhouse on this land for a long time?
Yes, the original part of the house, it was built in 1860. While the stone has been repointed and restored, it's all original and it's stunningly beautiful. And I'd love to show it to you.
Oh, I'd love to have a look.
That'd be great.
Oh, yeah, please. You see, I'm like a little boy in a candy store when I walk into a room like this because it's the perfect observation of old and new. The 1.5-inch floorboards, the wainscot into a third height, that beautiful stone wall behind the fire.
You get this incredible sense of space.
It's actually a really large house now that it's doubled in size with the renovation at 4,600 square feet.
Wow. Why was the square footage and having that scale so important?
I love having a house this big because I have 2 teenage boys.
Okay.
I have extended family that come, sometimes 12 or 14 people that come to the house, and there's space for everybody.
Do you know, the great thing for me is the fact that you've got so many great rooms, and they're massive.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of space in every one of the rooms. You've got the same kind of scale and proportion. There's a sense of airiness as you walk through the house because of the size of the room. The original house was quite a bit smaller. So I think large families, they were used to living in smaller quarters than we are here.
We live differently now, don't we? And architecturally, what was in the past doesn't necessarily relate to how you need it to work in the future. What you've done is you've made your design for your life in the present day work within the architectural framework of an old building. And that's no mean task.
You know, it's that great sense of space where you can look through the windows, you see the beautiful countryside around, and it's that wonderful sense of expansion and exposure. It's incredible.
Definitely.
So 19th century stone buildings would have primarily been structurally stone. And stone inherently is stacked. So all the walls are going to be very big and thick, and all the window openings are going to be relatively small and deep. And we have fairly kind of geometrical layouts of space.
Oh, come on. Now this is a kitchen.
Yeah. You know, this is not a kitchen. This is the quintessential farmhouse kitchen, and it's massive.
It's amazing. It's big. Having just such an incredible scale, the 6-burner stove, 2 ovens, and being able to really have large groups of family and friends, because I love to cook.
Yeah.
So to have a space that has room for everybody is really cool.
Yeah. You know, that is not just an island. Look at the size of it. It's so large, it should have its own capital city. That is a big, big space.
All good parties happen in the kitchen. So this island in particular is just perfect for that.
Suzanne's Georgian farmhouse does a fantastic job of mimicking a stately home, but she's not stopping there. Suzanne has plans to make her property truly monumental by turning her barn into more living space.
Wow. Just look at this place.
Yeah, it's a beautiful scale.
It's just mighty. What kind of condition was this in when you bought it?
It was terrible. I mean, when you stand inside a barn and you see the natural lighting and you get an idea of what the structure's like inside, it's incredible. It's a thing of beauty. But the back here was almost completely blown out. And I had someone come and take a look, and they said, you've got a couple of days to 2 weeks and the entire structure will fall down. So they came in right away, restructured, and actually took 16 feet off where it wasn't structurally sound, and then built the new section. And that will keep the barn upright. They say for another 100 years, but there's a tremendous amount of work left to do in here.
What are your big ambitions for this building?
I've always wanted to have a beautiful, long, rustic harvest table and have friends and family here, and having that experience would be incredible.
It seems like that's the very essence of actually having a property like this. It's about having an idea for the future, but actually having an appreciation of the past.
Definitely. You don't have barns like this that are made anymore, and I think they're historical structures of beauty, and so I decided to go ahead and restore it.
When barns like this were being built, they were built with this natural gapping, which allows the wind to pass through, which means it's not blasted flat and pushed down. So they're actually your friends, all those gaps.
Yeah, yeah, and they're beautiful.
Many people have a dream of escaping to the country, but you've done it to a bigger scale than most people could ever dream.
I did go large.
You bought an amazing, amazing farm. What is it they say, go big or go home? It's 4,600 square feet. That's a big house.
And yet it all feels so cozy and so escapist.
She's made a really huge place feel quite intimate. My favourite aspect, though, without a doubt, is that wonderful stonework. To see architecture and build standards from another era is just wonderful.
Yeah, and a truly unique experience where someone has taken something from the past and brought it kicking and screaming into the 21st century. So, Justin, is size all that it's cracked up to be when it comes to property?
Well, not necessarily, as we've just seen. Very different properties, but each a perfect observation of scale and size and proportion, and how all those factors come together to make a unique lifestyle opportunity for each user. Intimate, human, and monumental. 3 types of scale, each providing very distinct and individual results.
The treehouse was perfect proof, you know, that with a small space, you can still make a huge architectural impact.
Now, I like little more than being surprised by the homes that I visit. And when I walked up and saw that huge, big barn exterior with its metal roof and its black siding, I really didn't know what to expect when we walked in the front door. But by Jove, I loved what I found. It kind of felt like going back to the homeland because it felt so personal, so Scottish, and so incredibly livable.
Suzanne's Georgian farmhouse was a question of go large and go home, and such a successful renovation for me. I love it. And just that whole flow between rooms that made it feel positively palatial.
Not to mention her plans for the barn, which pushed the space even further into monumental scale. So, 3 very different homes, 3 sets of schematic proportions, but the one thing they all shared in common, they're all great escapes.
On Great Escapes, we're going to travel the wilderness on the hunt for unique architectural design.
I'm Colin McAllister.
And I'm Justin Ryan.
We're designers and have travelled the globe renovating houses and adding our own unique flair to other people's homes.
Now, we love the great outdoors and the idea of embracing the wilderness into your home. And in fact, just how far people will go to achieve precisely that.
Building an escape in the woods presents magnificent opportunities for individual design, but also unique challenges to work in harmony with the surroundings.
Add to that an extreme climate, from blistering hot summers to teeth-chattering winters, and these escapes must combine splendour with functionality.
We're going to explore properties that take that challenge head-on as we investigate homes that celebrate the landscape and work with the environment in interesting and distinctive ways.
On this episode, we'll be exploring what drives some people to build a sustainable or an eco-home.
Sustainable architecture minimises the impact of buildings on the environment.
And architects use different methods to make a structure environmentally friendly.
We'll be meeting one couple who single-handedly built their own home using a book on 18th century building methods and materials sourced from their own property. This is the fruits of the forest house, isn't it? For sure.
One woman who took on a dare to build an eco-lodge so at one with nature, it has a stream running through the middle of it.
This building does feel like it's got a proper heart.
And two families who decided to build the ultimate sustainable vacation home, minimising their impact on the environment by creating two sets of living and sleeping pods under one roof.
The sense of proportion here is just fantastic.
When an architect talks about the best site for a dream escape, they usually mean the view.
But that was not the case when homeowners Rick and Wendy Roman found this 50-acre wooded lot.
They knew that it actually had to have enough trees and stones to build their new home.
Which I think takes sustainability to a whole new local level.
With absolutely no building experience between them, Rick and Wendy decided to give up their city life and give homesteading a try.
When we think of homesteading, we picture 19th century pioneers, but modern-day homesteading has its roots in the self-sufficiency movement of the 1960s.
Homesteaders do as much as they can to live off-grid, and in Rick and Wendy's case, building their own dream log cabin complete with handmade furniture.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, how you doing?
Nice to see you.
You've got an incredible place here, and it's so exciting to visit.
It's absolutely stunning.
You've built your home using materials that you've cropped from the land.
That's right.
Everything here has come from your 50-odd acres. And it's a post and beam, right?
It's a post and beam house. It's a construction method called pièce sur pièce, which means piece on piece.
Okay.
And it's a short log construction. We picked this method because we knew the two of us could actually handle the material. We were able to lift all these logs by ourselves. So neither of you actually had experience of construction at all? No.
No, we didn't.
No. I mean, a little painting business, putting myself through university, but that was the extent of it. And it was pre-internet, so we weren't Googling our information. We did find an incredible book which showed us some techniques to modernize the connections using routers and plywood splines and that kind of thing.
While we did research and learned as much as we could from books, a lot of it was trial and error.
How did you make the first step and take it from ambition to reality?
We thought the key was that if we could be mortgage-free, we could have a freer life. And so how do you do that?
Good way to be.
You build your own house.
You do.
You use materials from the land.
We came up on one of our vacations. We took our 2-week vacation when we were still working. Came up here in the middle of the winter because it's the best time to harvest your trees and less damage to the environment. And we cut all our trees at that point, about 150 trees. We left them in place because it was winter time. And next spring, we'd quit our jobs. And we came up here full time. We bought ourselves an old tractor. And we started hauling them out of the forest with this tractor.
How long did it take to build a place like this?
2.5 years from the time we started until the time we were able to move in.
Okay. You two had a shared dream, and you put that dream together with your own 4 hands.
And we're still together.
And you're still together.
You're still
after
smiling.
all of this time.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
It's fantastic.
I'm dying to look inside, can we?
Yes, would you like to see inside?
Please.
Let's go in.
Oh, now what's not to love? Come on. This is just incredible.
Everything here is local. Everything in this house is from the land.
Pretty much as much as we could. So the log walls are cedar, the beams are spruce, The ceiling is pine, the floor is birch.
The rocks
All from the
are
land.
all local also.
Yeah.
Wow, this is the fruits of the forest house, isn't it? For sure. And based on, well, like a 300-year-old kind of like build philosophy.
Yeah, that's right. We've used some techniques from the Scandinavians, which is the scribed fit. So no filler in between the logs. They fit tightly and snugly.
I imagine that's given you even more work than just simply flattening the logs and laying them on top of each other.
Each log gets scribed fit. There's a scriber that has a pencil on the bottom and a point on the top. The process is literally tracing the exact line of the log below it. Then that log gets turned over. It's rough cut with a chainsaw between those lines. And then we take a mallet and chisel to take it right down to the line. So in the end, there's a little bump in the log below. The log on top will be shaped exactly to fit.
These designs were smartly adapted to the environment. They were accommodating heavy snow loads, for instance, the angles of the roofs, shed water, all these things that on the one hand seem crude, but on the other hand were extremely pragmatic.
It's so exciting to look and to know that your DNA is everywhere, from the milling of the floors to the felling of the trees to making the furniture. You made all that furniture yourselves.
Yeah. When we had finished, we had this material left over, and we thought, well, you know, let's make some stuff from it.
Waste not, want not.
Yeah, that's right. That's the bottom line.
Clearly, you love the use of wood. I wonder, though, have you used any other materials?
Actually, we have. We've got a straw bale studio outside. If you want to see it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Come on in.
Yeah.
So straw bales are another great building material. Straw is an agricultural waste product. It has no other purpose than animal bedding. So there's no food value to it. We're not taking anything out of the food stream. It gets baled up, and then we can use it to build the walls of houses. It's really easy to use.
So this is the studio.
Wow. It's got a really great sense of, I don't know, silence and tranquility in here.
Now, this is incredible. How did you build this? What's the technique?
So it is basically the same kind of structure as the log house. It's a post and beam structure that is infilled with straw bales. They're stacked up. As you can imagine, a brick house is stacked up. And then we begin to plaster it.
And how do you do that? Where do you get the plaster and the finish?
Well, the plaster is local clay and sand that actually we have a pond out here. We would go out and dig up the clay, put it in the trailer, and then we would mix the sand and the clay together and literally put it on the walls by hand.
You know what's insane? That this land has provided so much for you. It's like a home harvest. It's like you've harvested everything from the land here, even the clay from the pond, to create your home and now your workplace.
There's a real increased drive across the world to protect the environment, and we're all on board with that. But it seems that you've gone the next step to shop local, because everything that you've used to build your magnificent home, you've harvested from around the land.
Our philosophy is we're extracting our materials locally, so the embodied energy is very low. It's very sustainable. We cut our trees 29 years ago. When you go into that forest now, the trees that are adjacent to those trees have gotten to the size that you could use them for a log house again.
So minimal impact in the environment, I suppose, is the nutshell of what you guys are chasing.
Definitely.
The idea of organic has just gone out the window, because this is the most organic property I've ever encountered, almost like it just sprouted out of the ground right here.
This is a building that so beautifully references an old style of home construction, but it takes all of that and it manicures it and it makes it perfect for this modern day and age.
The idea that you don't use more than you actually need, you don't waste anything, and that everything that you need for your future could be right under your feet.
For some people, the idea of building a 5-star holiday getaway and combining it with eco-sensibilities would be perceived as an impossible task.
Word has it that our next property was built after the owner was told that it couldn't be done.
So undeterred, she rose to the challenge to build the most incredible eco-lodge that you can ever imagine.
Let's take a look at the result.
And here it is, built on 700 feet of shoreline in the midst of a cedar forest. E-Terra is the passion project of owner Laurie Adams.
Working alongside an architectural firm known for its eco-conscious buildings, Laurie paid meticulous attention to each detail to ensure every aspect of E-Terra is sustainable.
There are 6 two-level guest rooms, each with its own ensuite. Laurie's goal is to reconnect her guests with their natural surroundings.
Oh, Laurie, this truly is an oasis.
It is. It's nature at its best.
You're incredibly lucky to live somewhere like this. The sound of the leaves, the sound of the water, it's stunning.
If you like water features, follow me.
Oh, there's an offer.
It's quite the place, Laurie.
Well, the whole place was designed around this water feature. So we could blast it out of here, or I just said, move the building 6 feet.
You didn't kind of change
No.
the location of the rock. You built the house
We
on top of that.
built around it. Everything is focused around this rock. I just redid the water lines so that they were naturally flowing. And then this also acts as my humidifier because I have so much wood in the building.
This building does feel like it's got a proper heart. I love the fact that you've really thought about eco-sensibilities. Tell us more about some of the things that have been conspired to create this wonderful home.
One of the things was how small could we make the actual physical footprint on the ground? So in order to do that, you do have to go
Of
up.
course. Cubic volume
Yep.
becomes your best friend when
Yep.
proportions are limited in terms of foot space.
I wanted to do a wood building because my father was a logger, a lot of friends that I associated with, and the wood industry gets a lot of bad rap. You know, we're not supposed to cut down trees. We're not supposed to cut down old growth trees. But nothing really grows in the shadow of an old growth. So if you want new growth, you have to cut them down. So this post is actually holding 3 ton. They wanted to put a steel post in here, and I said, is there nothing in wood? So we contacted a barn building engineer, and he said, you need old growth because it's structural. So this comes from a train bridge that was being removed, I think 1850, they felt it was cut down.
It's almost like a big artery that holds all of the rest of this majesty together.
Essentially, the architectural strategy is very, very simple. The roof inclines or opens up towards a space that requires greater volume. And I imagine that simple, singular strategy of seesawing these roofs creates a variety of experiences while having a unifying consistency about the interior.
How about temperature balancing, keeping the climate right at all times? How do you do that?
We have air intake that pulls from the forest, and it comes through at 55, 56 degrees, so that's my air conditioning. It's all natural.
It's incredible. Should we take a look at some more?
Okay, let's go.
Making nature part of the build environment is not a new idea. The iconic falling water home built by Frank Lloyd Wright in the early 1930s was built over a waterfall.
His goal was to create an organic structure in harmony with the surrounding landscape. The water of the river underneath was used to cool and humidify the house.
So now I'm going to show you one of the suites that we have.
Wow. Wow, double height. And again, great volume in here.
There is, and part of it was to have like the treehouse feel so that you could go upstairs to where you sleep. And then downstairs you have your little living area, you have your bath.
Some more stone down in the floor again, timber floors. How about the wall coverings? What's there?
Plant matter,
Okay.
cellulose, because I wanted a wall that breathes. Most of the wallpapers that we use today don't do that. They're vinyls.
Sure.
So in this case, it's breathing and moving, just like the wood is breathing and moving. When I say that, it has to do with humidity, temperature control, all of that.
Okay.
We were doing LED lighting, but I don't do LED lighting by any of the beds. There, I've gone back to actually incandescent lighting because it affects your eyes. So then health becomes involved.
It's brilliant to hear that you're really thinking so carefully about every level of indulgence here. Do you think good design and good architecture can actually improve people's health?
Absolutely. And I say that with passion from my heart.
When guests come here, I mean, are they surprised? You know, because your take on the whole eco-living might be different to what they perceive.
It is. They come actually expecting almost like camping.
Yes.
And what I wanted to do was to find out whether or not luxury was equally as environmental and ethical.
What you've done is illustrate that you can have those luxuries and that you can have an environmental eye and an awareness for the planet and still have a great place to live in that looks good and feels functional.
This is a really comfortable, comfortable space. It must be great when you're in here and you actually hear your guests congregating and sharing their experience of being in your home.
It is, and I've made it so that it is very comfortable, very soft, so lots of conversation happens. So I have one last water feature that I want to show you.
Okay.
Ready?
Let's go. Oh, come on, you have to have a pool, don't you? Especially in this beautiful environment.
Well, I do, but it came about in a very strange way. Building code requires a fire reservoir.
Oh, okay. And what is a fire reservoir?
Should at any point in time the building start on fire, they are able to have access to fresh water.
Right, okay.
There's 80,000 liters of fresh water here to help put that fire out. It's filled daily with fresh water. We designed this with infinity edges so the water is constantly moving.
That's so clever. So basically you've said, find a fault, make a feature.
The house is safer and the guests are happier.
Yep.
I think the architectural merit of a building such as this is there's a passion here, and you very skillfully created that template so that anybody that visits can leave refreshed, bettered, and enhanced.
I actually don't feel like I visited a property today. I feel like I stepped through a portal into another dimension where you can actually live harmoniously with nature.
We all want to have a low impact on the environment, and she's taken that to the next level. She's built around herself this incredible framework that is so respectful of the planet.
If you can have luxury without sacrificing the planet, I'm all in.
I don't know about you, but when I think of vacations, I really think of spreading right out.
Oh, absolutely. The last thing you'd want to do is be living on top of each other.
However, our next homeowner had a very different idea to that. She decided to share a home with friends, and they built it together, and now living side by side, they've created perfect harmony.
Sounds very cozy. Shall we take a look?
It's one of the simpler ways to minimize your carbon footprint.
Architects Milana Jansen and John McMinn worked on several projects with Graham and Karina before they became friends and started vacationing together. When Graham was offered a piece of land for sale, the idea of the shared home was born.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
I'll tell you, the sense of proportion here is just fantastic.
There's a huge deck, there's a huge roof, and there are two houses here. It's like the coolest communal space I've ever seen.
I'd love to get a little bit of background, if we can, about the history of this building.
We actually bought the property with another couple, and we wanted to create a place that we all had our own individual private spaces, but we wanted to share resources, electricity, water, and things like that. Originally, we wanted to do a lot of little buildings kind of dotted along a boardwalk.
But the property was zoned for one house. And so we went and talked to the planner at the municipality and said, you know, we have two of us, we want to have two cabins. And he said, well, I think if there's a conjoined basement, it would be fine. And so basically through that, we were allowed to have one conjoined basement, and then we have the separate cabins. And so it works out really well.
In the end, two families, one roof, driven by the zoning bylaw, took us to this design.
We've sort of done the entrances on opposite sides so that we have a degree of privacy, and yet there's a whole set of connected spaces.
The idea was really to have matching cabins with bunkies beside them and to have lots of exterior space that we could enjoy as well.
So what are we looking at here in terms of inside and outside space?
The deck and the roof are 40 feet by 80 feet, roughly, and so it's about 3,200 square feet. But the internal spaces of the two cabins are about 450 square feet on the floor, and then with a partial second floor, it's about 600 square feet of interior space.
I mean, it's undoubtedly a massive structure, and the post and beam nature of its build style means that you can hang those swings and have all manner of things dangling down all over the place.
When you're building your roof like that, you want to make good use of it. Having the lights, hanging the swings, for sure, it's a great armature.
Well, it's great to have a lovely sense of what's happening outdoors, but I'd love to get inside. Can we have a peek?
Okay, let's go have a look.
Let's go have a look.
Wow. You know, this really does continue the conversation that you have outside, doesn't it? The idea of this incredible ceiling height.
We wanted to have a real sense of space on the inside. We needed a bedroom at the front, and we needed a bathroom and bedroom at the back, so we thought, okay, we will cut the hole out in the middle and have the full height space. Because we were trying to make such a small space work, things like the kitchen cabinets filling the entire back of the cabin, The stair kind of hidden behind the wall there. You know, all of those things, they had to be worked out very, very carefully to get it to work just right.
What are your environmental sustainability issues? What are the things that you wanted to consider when you put this project together?
As we were designing it, we were looking at how everything could be very sustainable. And so local materials was one thing. We have solar panels on the roof. The big roof is not only a big shade canopy thing, but it's also for collecting rainwater. So we have cisterns out the back.
We found some billiard tables that we repurposed for countertops. We used bamboo for the cabinets.
And how about the cloth that I can see that's part of that banister?
Yeah, the railings are actually marine canvas that were repurposed from a factory that was closing in the city. The floors are earthen floors. It is made of clay, sand, and there's a little bit of straw mixed into it.
So we've seen space number 1. We'd love to see what happens on the flip side. Can we have a look?
Let's go and have a look.
Let's go.
Living in a shared house like this is quite sustainable, building to the size you actually need. The pods under the larger roof give you the exact size you need as a living pod. So the extra space on the decks under the roof are providing all of that bonus living space that doesn't have to be heated and cooled.
It's so interesting to see someone else's interpretation of exactly the same space. How did that actually happen? You know, two couples get together and say, okay, you know what, let's live under one roof.
We really did a lot of talking about what's private here, what's public, where are we going to be sharing, what will it look like to have a meal together outside. All of that was kind of calibrated to make sure that we weren't invading each other's space.
Yeah, because it's all in the design, isn't it? They are kind of blinkered, but it's not like you fully turned your back on them. So it's not rude, but it is private.
Yeah.
The bunky's really cute as well on both sides. It's lovely to have that little separate pod just kind of positioned there.
Yeah. We were able to add a bridge with our pod too, and we really make use of the upstairs. Sometimes we have a tent up there. It's really beautiful to sleep up there.
The idea was if you have guests, you know, to be able to have separation so that they can go in there at night and be separate, and then they can come and, you know, join in during the day. And so it was all about trying to plan how to live together in various ways with both the partners, but also with guests that come and have the degree of separation necessary.
Sharing a home, I imagine, could work really well or could be a really tricky operation, but you've got separate kitchens, separate bathrooms. So although you're combining under one roof, you're not over each other at every turn. So to me, this is a really clever way to lead two lives under one roof.
It's almost like a community condo. You know, people live in condominiums, you share a roof, and it's exactly what you're doing here, isn't it? You know, the greatest architects really push the envelope to redefine what housing is. Previously, you would think it's four walls and a roof, but in terms of planning, it can be a roof, the floor, and anything you want to put between those.
They've fused two separate family lives under one roof, but they've merged and blurred the boundaries in such a way that it works really well.
Using an eco-conscious palette has really created a very unique home here that sits harmoniously in this space. The reclaimed timber, the locally sourced stone, the earthen floor all add up to a feel-good factor that's not about ruining the planet, but just creating an incredible home. We've been exploring what drives people to create an eco or sustainable home. We visited 3 very individual properties that all demonstrate you do not have to sacrifice the planet to create your own personal escape.
First up, the Homestead, a really interesting property put together by Rick and Wendy.
They totally redefined what it is to shop local by creating their home out of the very ground it was built on.
The Eco Lodge, built by Laurie, one of the things that really caught my attention was the clever use of water everywhere you looked, proving that luxury and sustainability can go hand in hand.
House number 3's communal living shows you that 2 budgets are better than 1 when it comes to realising your eco-home dream. Using sustainable items and recycling all adds up to an equation that's all about the planet and style at the same time.
3 fascinating but essentially very different eco-homes, but they have one thing in common.
They're all great escapes.
On Great Escapes, we're going to travel the wilderness on the hunt for unique architectural design.
I'm Colin McAllister.
And I'm Justin Ryan.
We're designers and have travelled the globe renovating houses and adding our own unique flair to other people's homes.
Now, we love the great outdoors and the idea of embracing the wilderness into your home. And in fact, just how far people will go to achieve precisely that.
Building an escape in the woods presents magnificent opportunities for individual design, but also unique challenges to work in harmony with the surroundings.
Add to that an extreme climate, from blistering hot summers to teeth-chattering winters, and these escapes must combine splendour with functionality.
We're going to explore properties that take that challenge head-on as we investigate homes that celebrate the landscape and work with the environment in interesting and distinctive ways.
Now, when you're trying to escape the city, there is nothing like jumping on a boat to make you feel like you are truly getting away from it all.
And for some people, a boat is the only way to reach their great escape.
On this episode, we're looking at the trials and tribulations of building on waterlocked properties. We'll meet one architect whose remote water access cabin blends seamlessly into the landscape.
I think it's fantastic that we're standing here and we actually can't really see your property.
It was important to me to be really quiet, for the landscape to dominate and for the building to recede into it.
Another who set out to build an off-grid island escape with a bold yet breezy feel.
Oh, wow, it's enormous.
Everything is challenging about a water access place.
Yeah.
Every single piece has to come by hand at some point.
And lastly, a secluded property that prioritises letting the outdoors in, using the forest as its hallways.
Come on, look at this place. Come on.
Okay, question. What do you do when your current cabin is almost falling down, but you're a highly respected architect? And the piece of land you're building on can only be accessed by water.
Well, you use all your experience to create a unique escape that's perfectly adapted to the area.
And in fact, so well situated that you can barely even spot it.
Multi-award-winning architect Ian MacDonald has been vacationing at his family cabin for over 20 years.
But when it came time to replace it with a new build, Ian only had a short window for building.
Harsh winter conditions combined with water access properties make construction extremely difficult in these parts.
Ian had to hire a helicopter to get materials to the building site quickly and efficiently in order to get the house built before winter hit.
Now, Ian's home sits nestled in nature. Making the building secondary to the landscape has a rich pedigree in modern architecture.
The Arizona home of influential architect Frank Lloyd Wright was designed to blend into the desert landscape upon which it was built.
Hey, Ian, how you doing?
Good. Nice to see you. How
Good to
are
see
you?
you. Good.
What an incredible journey.
Yeah.
Beautiful, but it's not exactly easy to get here, is it?
No, there are friends we have who say, why would you want a place so far away? You have to put everything in the boat and then unload the boat and take it up to the cabin. But for me, it's the transition away from the city. It's going across a body of water. Sometimes that takes a long time if it's rough, if there's stormy weather, and it's a good transition. It washes the city off. And by the time you're here, you're in another place.
But it's long and it's a bit difficult, so how can you build a house out here?
Well, it takes a lot of planning, and you have to be organized and bring your materials in, and you bring the guys in who are building it, and it's different.
How do you get everything here?
Well, how you get everything here is by boat.
Okay.
It comes on a big barge.
All right.
And there's a cost component to it. You have to be careful. You have to be well organized, because if you forget one element, you have to go all the way back to do it. Once you get it here, that's the first step, but then you've got to get it up to the top of the hill. And getting people to show up here, it's a short building season. The weather gets up in the fall, and it's windy and wavy, and it's harder to get here.
I think it's fantastic that we're standing here and we actually can't really see your property. You know, it gives you that wonderful sense of harmony.
It's visibility from the water. It was important to me to be really quiet, for the landscape to dominate and for the building to recede into it.
All I can see is the very vaguest whisper of it.
Yeah, it's up the hill behind the trees, but why don't we go take a look at it?
I'd love to.
Oh, no, this is fantastic, Ian. Well, it's a truly spectacular space. What are we looking at in terms of square footage?
The interior space is 1,400 feet. It's not very big, but it feels big.
Okay, and you've got, what, 3 bedrooms here?
Yep, 3 bedrooms.
Amazing. I really like the fact that you've been so clever with the space, and rather than just have a corridor connecting the rear of your property to the front, you've turned that corridor into a really big working kitchen.
The real effort was to minimize the footprint of the building and keep it as small as we could, so many things have double uses.
Everything's quite minimalist in here. You know, even the window dressings are minimalist.
Yeah, this is a very warm site in the dog days of summer when there's little wind, and so we've got a number of things we've done, strategies to make it cooler. One of them is blinds that are deployed on the outside. These things drop down on the outside and stop over 90% of the radiant energy from getting into the house. So it keeps it from getting hot in the morning. There's an irrigated green roof on top, which keeps it cool during the day.
It's one of these great properties where you just can't help but be connected to the great outdoors. Like, you're forced to engage with the surroundings.
Yeah. Yeah. We try to break down boundaries between inside and out. And so in this case, the windowsill drops below the countertop, so you can't see the point of its conclusion. It makes it seem more open. Right. It's plenty open anyway, but you're basically standing here in the garden.
Which is brilliant.
Which is nice.
I think that it's really important that buildings really acknowledge where they're located. And the better that you respond to this physical found condition, the more your building has a chance of actually feeling like it's really meshed with the landscape.
Oh, no, this is fantastic, Ian. Just amazing. The volume here isn't actually enormous, but I feel like I'm standing in a really big space because I'm looking right out with so few obstructions to that incredible waterway.
Come on. You know, there are panoramas, and then there are panoramas with a capital P, and this is as widescreen as it gets.
Yeah. This whole space converts from an interior room that's heatable to a screened-in porch, which is really great. It connects you to the landscape.
My favorite thing in here, this wonderful concrete elevation. What's the story with this? I mean, clearly it's housing a fireplace, but what is it and how does it work?
Well, that's the hearth. That's the fireplace for the cabin. It's solid concrete. It's also
solid? What does that weigh?
There's about 8 tons of concrete in there.
8 tons?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
wow.
a big, heavy element, so it provides thermal mass. There are 2 wood stoves throwing heat into it, and it warms up during the day. The fires can go out, and that's giving heat back to the cabin for 24 hours or so after that. So it evens out the cycle of, you know, warm, cold, and makes it easier to heat.
A job very well done.
Thank you.
I think this is a total dream property.
Ian has done what can only be described as a remarkable job with this. It's a clever observation of what will happen if you plan every square inch perfectly. It's blended and blending into the scenery so perfectly that it whispers rather than screams designer.
So to meet an architect who's obviously created his own home, it should be that to the power of 10. This is Ian's DNA. It has his signature on every single piece of wood. It is his wonderfully calm personality personified in a building.
Now, growing up, architect Charles Gaines spent his summers holidaying in an area not far from where we're going today.
His dream was to build his own escape, so he set up to create his ultimate oasis away from the city, an entirely self-sufficient structure.
But with a modern, minimalist aesthetic that successfully brings the outdoors in.
Charles and Robin's escape is a modern structural gem. Industrial touches like massive windows exposing timber beams give a nod to the high-tech architectural style of the 1970s and 80s.
High-tech architecture transformed industrial details such as pipes and ductwork into celebrated design features. Entire walls of glass with minimal metalwork are a hallmark of the style.
Hey, guys.
Hey there.
That was a choppy run in, I'll tell you.
Great to meet you, and that is quite an approach to this house that looks positively magnificent.
It can be a wild ride.
Yeah, indeed, but then it's worth it because you see this incredible house and your incredible rock.
Can we show you around?
Would love a look.
Yeah, we'd love to, please.
Okay.
Lead the way.
Oh, wow. Oh, my word, it's amazing. Blimey, it's enormous.
It's huge. First thing you see when you walk in here is everything. So how do you go about creating a property like this on a piece of ground like this?
We saw the property for the very first time in December, covered in ice and snow, took a leap of faith and decided to buy it. And for the first 2 or 3 seasons we were here, we had a dock, we had a canoe, and we had a tent.
And you lived there?
We
and
did.
we just camped.
We did.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we realized the best spot to be during the day was up here. There was an amazing natural depression. We thought that's where the main entry will be. So the cottage spans over, you enter under the cottage, and the bedrooms are underneath.
Wow.
So
the actual rock surface really dictated the shape of this property.
Yeah.
As you view the property from the water, you see it rising from left to right. It works precisely with the elevation of the rock. Any landscape you come to, you are looking for the elements that make a good domestic space. Liabilities can be your best friends because they tell you what you have to do. That's what makes the building go from building to architecture. It really does give you something profound.
You're on a glass bridge from the land to the air.
Wow, because it feels like a lookout, because you get up here and the first thing you see is the fact that we're actually almost in the canopy of the trees. We're at the treetops. And then I love the fact that you can actually look in every single direction and see something.
It's all solar run, too.
Right.
How easy is it to live a life essentially off the grid?
Remarkably easy. And quite frankly, the hydro up here isn't super reliable. So a storm comes in, downs the lines, and some of our neighbors can lose power for 2 or 3 days. And that doesn't
You're
happen
with
to
your
us.
microwave and your irons and your hair dryers and all your devices.
We're good.
Yeah, you're good. How many square feet altogether do you have?
So we've got about 2,000 square feet of living space and about 2,000 square feet of windows.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
These are really impressive windows.
It's just the amazing size of the glass. They're 6 feet by 7 feet.
So 2,000 glorious feet indoors. What do you have outside?
Let's show you.
Okay.
Guys, you know, it's challenging weather up here. It's July, and it's kind of blowing a little mini storm. So it must have been hugely challenging to build something like this on land like this.
Everything is challenging about a water access place.
Yeah.
Every single piece has to come by hand at some point.
For sure.
You have to be organized in advance.
You don't want to be building as much on site, so you want to prefab as much as you can. The wood was all pre-drilled, connections ready, so that when we got on site, you just put it all together like a big mechano set.
Can you give me some of the big challenges? Let me know some of the things that might have been issues that you've had to contend with.
Well, one of the big challenges was getting concrete out here. And concrete has to come on a barge, and it had to go on a 3-hour barge trip. So they told us, by the time you get here, you only have an hour to spare, and then the concrete would be hardening. So it was a mad dash, and then it had to get pumped fast. So that was super challenging.
Right, so if you miss that hour, then you're screwed.
Yeah, and you got 2 concrete trucks sitting on a barge. No one wants to lose a concrete barge.
No, certainly don't know it.
Yeah.
That's not in your economic plan.
Exactly. I think your plans would be sunk,
literally.
Of course.
But getting all the materials here, everything had to be hauled up by hand. We had a little mini mobile crane. And we actually had people come in and lived here for a week, putting on all these windows. Right. And they were cooking chili all day long on a hot fire.
What a memory, what an incredible memory.
Warm.
How important was it for you to build a home that would in many ways merge into the environment?
We wanted things like sustainability, and we have solar power, we're off-grid, and we had this unique septic system that uses peat moss, and it creates this swamp, a bog, and cleans everything.
Oh, that sounds a bit icky.
Wow, we won't take you there.
No, let's not look at that.
It doesn't have to be pumped.
It doesn't
out or
have to be
anything.
pumped, and it should be good for 20 or 30 years.
What makes this so special to you guys?
It's a refuge, the place of quiet and peacefulness.
Boy, did you ever get it right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So it's bold and it's breezy, but self-sufficiency actually can be sleek, sexy, and sophisticated.
It's a completely brilliant home. I love its architectural mix of stone, glass, and wood. And oftentimes, when you look at that big mix of slightly industrial with bags of metal, it can be a little austere. But that house is the opposite of that. For all its modernity, it's a really comfortable place to retreat. I could live in there.
Of course, the burning question, Justin, is are you organised enough to have a water access only property?
Well, for many people, that mightn't be the ideal, but for Robin and for Charles, it's absolutely perfect.
You know, it can be a difficult journey. You know, this property is waterlocked, but I think it's totally worth it.
After years of visiting their friend's island property, architect couple Brigitte Shim and Howard Sutcliffe decided to build their own remote escape.
And they quickly learned that they'd have to come up with some really creative solutions to deal with some of the issues that living on an island can present.
Bridget's Island Camp has strong parallels with the Farnsworth House, a masterpiece of modern architecture. This one-room weekend retreat was built by Ludwig Mies van der Rohe in 1951.
He believed the human connection with nature was essential and should be at the very forefront of design, much like Bridget and Howard's island escape. Hello, Bridget.
Hello, how are you?
We're good, thank you.
You know what? Better for seeing you and this incredible cabin, which I'm going to tell you right now is unlike anything I've seen before.
Very special place. We're very lucky to be here.
Most cabins you approach from the lakeside, but here, you know, you're encouraged to go through the forest first.
The boardwalk is a narrow footprint, so in a way it allows nature to be all around you.
It's almost like you've created this wonderful secret. The elevation and the view is heart-stopping.
It's very spiritual, and the landscape is always changing. It's a big sky, and it's doing something different every minute, and you just get to enjoy it all the time.
How long did it take to build this amazing structure?
I would say about 2 construction seasons, because it's a short time period, and we actually worked in the city with a group of fabricators that built a lot of this in the winter in a controlled shop, and then everything had to get shipped up in pieces.
So almost like an academic take on prefabrication.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you brought it up component part by component part, then assembled the puzzle.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that, in a way, redefining what most people think of as prefab in a different way to deal with a remote island, transportation issues. We couldn't use any heavy equipment, no cranes or anything. So everything had to be light enough for 2 to 3 people to carry over an uneven terrain. First, we built the main cabin, then we built the wash house, and then the boardwalk, and then the guest cabin. And so in a way, they're all pieces that form this bigger grouping that we call a camp. The idea is that you're always walking between them and experiencing nature. And then we also wanted no maintenance. And so much of these materials weather, they age, and they develop a wonderful patina, and hopefully you don't have to do a lot.
So the home's improving with every season that passes and every year that endures.
All buildings engage and interact with nature. And in this landscape, I think you don't want to be kind of maintaining your buildings. You actually just want to be enjoying the landscape.
So you've designed this incredible property with your husband, Howard, also an architect. And I have to say, first impressions, it's remarkable. But I want to go back to some of the simple first points of planning. How did you attach this building to the bedrock?
So typically, most people would pour a concrete footing that would be anchored to this amazing billion-year-old rock.
Geology at its absolute finest.
Unbelievable. So we actually drill into the rock to anchor a grid of screw jacks, and they can be leveled, and that creates the superstructure that everything else is built on.
You could anchor screw jacks in with a couple of bolts, I imagine, and they'd be secure, and you'd just be touching the rock. So the rock gets to run continuously through, so the building is distinguished from the landscape. The landscape is continuous. You're not interfering with it or cutting into the rock in any way.
It was really just a kind of reverence and respect for the landscape that we're in.
I'd love to have a look inside.
Please, come on in.
Oh,
yes,
thank
let's
you.
go.
Come on.
Welcome. This is our wooden tent.
Come on, Bridget. Look at this place. Come on. I'm going to say that again. Come on. This is totally off the charts. It's unlike anything I've ever seen.
So this is about 1,100 square feet. There's 1 bedroom. There's also a guest cabin, a wash house. So they're all separate buildings.
This is just incredible. The light, the shape. This is brilliant.
It's actually just trying to respond in a very direct way to the physical location that we're in.
You look everywhere, north, south, east, and west, and there's something going on.
On one hand, you see the green of the forest, and on this side, you actually see the blue of the water, and that you're actually experiencing both with natural light coming right down in the middle. It's meant to really allow you to feel the elements, the smells, the sounds, the view all together.
Yeah.
And not to be hermetically sealed and separated from nature, but really to bring nature inside
Well, you've done that incredibly well, because I do feel that although I'm standing within your lovely cabin, I'm also standing outside.
So on one side, we actually have a whole series of screens. They can be fully opened, they can be insect screen, and then we actually have fiberglass, which can protect you from the wind.
One of the things that takes the eye immediately is this long, long skylight. What's it made from?
So it's actually made of plexiglass. It's a double layer of plexiglass. And we didn't want to spend a lot of money. So we actually looked at a greenhouse glazing, which is an off-the-shelf product that they use for industrial greenhouses. So we only have one bay, whereas a greenhouse might have many, many bays. And it's actually fiberglass because we were concerned if trees fell in the winter. So it's actually very resilient. It's made of a double channel. And then the whole thing cranks open to provide both cross ventilation and also natural light right in the middle. So really everything we want does more than one thing, and it actually benefits us in more than one way.
So during construction, you would obviously bring every single component right here to the island. What would you do about construction waste? You know, how do you minimize that?
So one of the things that we're very concerned about is our ecological footprint and trying to minimize that wherever possible. So our definition of prefabrication isn't just rolling up with a flatbed and a kind of container and assembling them. All of the kind of elements for the floor, the walls, and the roof are actually what are called SIPS panels, structurally insulated panels. They were built in a millwork shop over the winter, January, February, March, and they were 4x8 sheets that were insulated, had finishes on them, and then shipped up by a barge from the marina to the island, and then carried to the actual site by 2 people. So in doing so, we kept our material waste to a minimum. On this side, we have a long horizontal window, but at both ends, we actually have wooden panels that open up.
Right.
And so depending, again, on the kind of breezes and the day, we get great cross ventilation all the way through. And then if you're sitting at the bench, it's actually at perfect bench height. You're actually perfectly framed to view the forest.
Yeah, it's amazing. Come and sit here.
What I'm also loving about this is I imagine this is wide enough to be used as a bed. So extra guest seating, so bang for your buck, double bubble, an opportunity for something to serve a secondary purpose.
Exactly.
The arrangement of every layer of this home is really exciting, and it's a really lovely residence. So, Bridget and Howard's wooden tent, just incredible. This would not have been an easy project to build.
I'm totally gobsmacked. Honestly, I'm taken by surprise by this property. It's industrial, it's beautiful, it has an appreciation of nature. And I think prefab is too small a description. Totally fab is how I would term it. So 3 examples of architects designing and building water access properties for themselves, which is a huge commitment.
You're taking on potentially a whole load of extra expenses, so you have to really plan every last detail from the first moment of conception to make sure that your plan comes together without killing your budget. So, starting off with the hidden cabin, home of architect Ian MacDonald, who set out to make his home almost invisible as viewed from the water. For him, his build was all about merging with nature and retaining a huge degree of privacy.
1,400 square feet used beautifully. House number 2 is the Monument Cabin.
Minimal impact on the environment was really important for Charles and Robin, so they set out to be off the grid wherever possible. Solar panels, peat moss toilets, those things, while they mightn't sound enormous, give you a really big return in terms of not impacting the environment.
And finally, the Island Camp home.
Now, Bridget told us that their plan for this property was that it should feel like an indoor tent. And I understand what she means.
You know, people talk about bringing the outdoors in, but do they really talk about just interacting with the outdoors? You know, by having 3 separate structures that aren't joined, it means that the ground between them is as important as the structures that are placed on them.
So, in a nutshell, 3 very different water access cabins. However, they all share one fabulous thing in common. They're all great escapes.
On Great Escapes, we're going to travel the wilderness on the hunt for unique architectural design.
I'm Colin McAllister.
And I'm Justin Ryan.
We're designers and have travelled the globe renovating houses and adding our own unique flair to other people's homes.
Now, we love the great outdoors and the idea of embracing the wilderness into your home. And in fact, just how far people will go to achieve precisely that.
Building an escape in the woods presents magnificent opportunities for individual design, but also unique challenges to work in harmony with the surroundings.
Add to that an extreme climate, from blistering hot summers to teeth-chattering winters, and these escapes must combine splendour with functionality.
We're going to explore properties that take that challenge head-on as we investigate homes that celebrate the landscape and work with the environment in interesting and distinctive ways.
Creating a haven in the wilderness is not a new idea. People have been striving to escape the cities for, well, as long as we've had cities.
On this episode, we're looking at homes that play up the past, present, and future through their architecture.
When torn between tearing down her old cabin and building a new holiday home, one homeowner rather ingeniously made two become one.
That is the zaniest thing I think I've ever seen. And it's in the kitchen.
A hockey legend designed his own contemporary cottage to make the most of the present.
Look at the size of this place, Justin. I told you I should have been good at hockey.
I know, what an amazing property.
And we'll be meeting one architect who created a climate-controlled cabin that provides an escape to the future.
We're expecting a little slice of the future, and it totally delivers.
Now, the most popular type of home that we see along lakefronts such as these is the traditional log cabin, a design of home favoured way back when since the early settlers.
And the next house we're visiting is actually a 40-year-old log cabin, which, let's face it, it's not exactly unusual in these parts.
However, our homeowner has found a particularly unusual way of preserving it. Let's take a peek.
Mara Smelters-Weir built her one-room log cabin with some help from family and friends in the 1980s.
And for close to 40 years, Mara and her family enjoyed their summers here.
The cabin itself became a cherished member of the family.
If you look at the beginnings of building the log cabin, it doesn't get more expressionist than that. I mean, the material is wood. You see it on the inside and the outside. We're still trying to figure out how to insulate all wood houses or whether we need to insulate them. The lucky thing for a summer building is you don't have to insulate, so it all opens up a whole lot of freedom.
In 2010, Mara's humble log cabin underwent a major overhaul. Working closely with her architect, they ensured the simple log cabin's past was preserved.
Oh, there you are. Hello, Mara.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Excellent.
There's a real sense of complete abandon out here. As we drove up and walked down, there's nothing else around about just you.
It's pretty natural.
Yeah, how long have you been here for?
Well, 37 years
Okay.
I've been here. When we first moved here, it was just bush. We had a little trail coming over from the cabin next door. We chopped down some trees to make a little log cabin. That's what we started with.
Wow, and you did that yourselves?
Yeah, ourselves, a little 8x10 cabin.
That's
It was
fantastic.
Great. In 2010, I won the lottery. And
wait a minute, so rewind. You won the lottery?
I did.
Oh, my word.
And that allowed me to expand to a bit of a dream home.
So then you got rid of the log cabin, you built a new home.
Well, no, we didn't get rid of the log cabin. The log cabin is still here. We basically wanted to keep that log cabin because it was part of our heritage.
Now, where is it?
It's inside.
Wait a minute, your original log cabin
That's right.
is inside this new structure.
Yep.
I can't stand in your stoop any further. Can I please have a look?
Go in.
Can we?
Absolutely.
Yeah, please.
Come on in.
There's a house.
It is a house.
That is the zaniest thing I think I've ever seen. You first see the kitchen, and then you think, wow, this girl can bake, because there is the biggest gingerbread house I've ever seen in my entire life.
When you told us outside that you actually had an entire house built round an original cabin, I don't think in my wildest dreams it was going to be a literal translation of what you just said. I want to know a bit about the mechanics of actually building a whole new house around about a tiny log cabin, because that must be tricky.
It was a bit tricky because when we built the log cabin, we didn't anticipate any of this. So it was never on a really strong, proper foundation. It was fine for a log cabin. But what we had to do was put straps around the whole thing, and a crane came and lifted the whole thing off, put it over there on the driveway. A whole proper foundation was built underneath this, and then they had to lift it back on, kind of thing.
What you've done here is seismic. First up, the volume is incredible. I'd love to get a bit of background on what else you've got here.
This is the space I mostly live in. I have fundraisers and dinner parties in this space. But if you go around the back of the cabin, there's a beautiful dining room that seats my whole family. When my extended family is here, we're 14, and so that was my goal there. There's a master bedroom and bath over in that corner, and down in the south wing, I have a guest room and a guest bath.
How important was it for you, Mara, to embrace the past?
It was a big deal. My husband and I really wanted to keep the log cabin. Ourselves and friends had spent so much time making it and putting it together, and we loved it. So that was a big thing to be able to keep that. The initial choices that Dave Spolnick, the architect, gave us was to have additions, but it was too cluttered. So this was a perfect compromise of being able to keep the cabin and still have the nice clean lines outside.
It's incredible to watch those wonderful ceiling lines go up to their gorgeous apex, and then that connection between the metalwork between them. It's really, really interesting.
It's not a coincidence that the roof lines are absolutely parallel with each other.
No, that's right. We had shingles on that initially, but then we put pine shakes on it when we brought it back into the house because it didn't really need to be waterproof, you know, so it was just for the look, then we went. But what's funny is I've got a little access spot for the cat to access the roof in the wintertime because sometimes they need exercise in the winter. They don't like going outside in the snow. I see the little place up there for them to sit and look out what's going on, but it's kind of a fun little feature for them.
You really have created something that is distinctly unlike anything that we've seen before.
Yeah.
It's like an ultimate act of architectural preservation. You've kept your beautiful original log cabin, and now it's the living room within everything else that you've built recently.
That's right. I didn't want a great room. To me, that's a nice, cozy space, and it's reminiscent of what we've always had.
When you're sitting in there some evenings when you're in the log cabin, does it still feel like it used to?
Yeah, it does. It was the living room then. It's still the living room now. Do you want to have a closer look?
I'd love to,
okay,
yeah, if
come
I
on.
may. It's wonderful to walk into your past, which is what I expect I'm seeing here.
It is. It's exactly that. I look around this room and I see things that we gathered and were given in the process of building the cabin. So, yeah, it is our history. You can see, obviously, that I love cooking, and I extended that to entertaining and cooking outside. Do you want to have a look?
Yeah, please.
Okay, let's do it.
You know, in this kind of existence, the outdoors is as important as the inside, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I wanted very much a space that I could entertain and cook outdoors because I love cooking outside.
This is kind of like barbecue heaven.
Yeah, it is. I'm prepared for all circumstances here.
We see a lot of really interesting homes, and every so often something resonates extra, and that's what we see in there, a real heartbeat. I want to take you back to the day that you built that tiny little cabin. Could you ever have imagined, 37 years ago, that your life would have changed so enormously, and you'd have all of this going on?
You know what? Honestly, I had most of this before I had the money. I've always had a good outdoor cooking space. I've always loved entertaining. I've always had fundraisers, you know, so I've always done that with or without the money. I've enjoyed it. There's things that are a little bit different here. I have a little more space to work with. It looks a little bit neater than what I had before, but cooking for people is a sign of love. You're giving to your guest and you're doing something special for them. So it's about love to me.
You often hear stories about people who win and then just lose their way in life. It's almost like the win for you was an opportunity to market even more clearly everything that you already stood for and allow your friends to come with you on the journey. And that's a really generous way to do something.
I think it very much was that. It was a process that's been shared by my family and friends for sure.
And that is priceless.
It is priceless.
There are some homes that shoot you through the heart like an arrow. There's so much heart and soul in that space.
She has so majestically wrapped up her original cabin in the framework of a brand new building. The old and the new just play so beautifully together.
Lottery winners' houses are extreme, but this is a different kind of extreme.
It must be amazing to do that, to really hold on so tightly to everything that you used to stand for and then just reinvent it for everything that you've become.
As vacation homes become ever more about the idea of spending time with friends and family, the old notion of a one-bedroom cabin, well, that just doesn't cut it anymore.
Especially for our next homeowners. Their dream escape, well, it's been built big enough to house an entire hockey team.
This 6,500 square foot property is the haven of hockey legend Wendell Clark, who played in the NHL from 1985 to 2000.
After he retired, Wendell and his wife Denise set about designing and building their dream home on the lake.
Their property has a traditional look, but it's state-of-the-art, grounding it firmly in the present.
Oh, guys, look at the size of this place. Justin, I told you I should have been good at hockey.
I know, what an amazing property. Guys, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Trespassers, do you guys want to come and see?
Yeah, are we welcome? Oh, goodness, come on inside.
Come on in.
Trespassers.
Oh, wow. What an absolutely epic place. To walk in and instantly be met by that view is just heart-stopping.
It's still a joy every time. You wake up and see this when you walk in the front door. It never gets old.
Well, it's certainly a sizable house. How many square feet in total?
It's about 6,500. There's 5 bedrooms in the main house. The boathouse has a bedroom. And then there's 3 bunkies with a few bedrooms each.
3 bunkies?
Yes.
It's like a resort, this. What was actually on this site before? Was it a house here?
It was actually a mini resort. Probably in our day, you'd call it a bed and breakfast. There was a white 2-story farmhouse with 6 bunkies, 3 of which we have kept and just updated them. I think when we first seen the property, we liked the bunkies because as there gets to be more family and grandkids, we can be together but not on top of each other.
So it's not a bed and breakfast anymore here. You know, it's totally transformed. How long did this actually take?
The main part took about 12, 14 months to do the bunkies and the initial landscape. And then we did the boathouse 3 years later and finished it in a year as well. It was a bed and breakfast rental spot, and now we use it as our home, but I'll run charity/corporate events here where bring 8, 12 people in, golf, fish, and stay and entertain. Just utilize the property.
My favourite part is that big coursing A-frame architectural line with those big structural joists. I imagine at some point you worked with an architect, perhaps, to help you hone those ideas. Is that the case?
Yeah, we kind of gave him all of our ideas, what we wanted, our likes and dislikes.
We did a lot of the floor plans, and he has great roof lines. All his projects, his homes, always had great roof lines. Looks as good from the outside as it does on the inside.
I love the mix of all that glass, that incredible stone fireplace, and the wood everywhere. All of these elements conspire to give you something that really works so well in the present tense.
It's something I think it ages well when you use a lot of wood. It's got a warmth to it. All the barn board from the hemlock floors to the beams that we got. Right to the roof of the screened-in porch is the waste wood that they were throwing away. It has too many nails in to use, so instead of putting it on the floor, we put it on the roof and left all the nails in it.
There has been a push to use building materials from a site that may be being demolished in a way that is environmentally more friendly and produces a greener build. They can add character to a space, and elements like reclaimed wood might be more appropriate than using something like drywall that is unforgiving as the building changes with the weather, cracks and so on can form.
Where did you draw the inspiration for this farmyard feel?
You know, it's kind of our roots. We used to live on a farm, so we just continue that theme up here.
And it just merged together because suddenly you're obviously not in the farm, you're right on water. With a house as beautiful as this, is there a tendency for guests to overstay their welcome?
Well, we just move them out to the bunkies. They all sleep 1 to 2 to 3 people at a time, so put the guests in a bunkie. They can come and go as they please, and as the kids get older and have their families or their buddies, they're out there. They live much different hours now than I do, so it's great having that space and the places that are outside the main.
But essentially, you can also all congregate inside this fantastic open concept partition of your home, so it's the best of both worlds. What's that building there? Is that a boathouse?
It is.
Can we have a look?
Come on down, we'll show you.
You must just pinch yourselves every single day, you know, when you stand here and just look at that huge expanse of beautiful lake.
No, it's awesome. This is the best spot. And you guys got a tough day. There's the odd cloud out there. It's usually we'll get that removed.
Yes, exactly. Who do we call when
we get that cloud removed?
Fantastic.
This is 60 days in July and August. This is usually what it's like. Since adding this boathouse, this is where we do 90% of the living. Everybody's coming by boats, leaving by boats. You want to live on this side of your property. The water's the reason you're up here. So when you get to utilize the water like this, that's the best part.
I think I might actually move in here because there's a bedroom and a bar in close proximity.
What more do you need?
Exactly.
It's really refreshing to walk around and see something of this scale that's been so personally created by its owners.
We did tours around to look at other structures on the lake, and with the colors of the roof and the dark tones brings the building down to the ground so it doesn't jump out at you. You moved into a new area, you just want to be a part of the community. We want to spend a lot of time, so you want to get along with all the neighbors.
And your plans for the future, I mean, are you finished or is this a work in progress?
No, I think we're done. We're on the maintenance detail now. We're strictly maintenance now.
You've realised your dream by creating a house that references so much of the past to create a home that's really relevant in the present day. I mean, let's be perfectly frank, Colin. This is an architectural masterpiece, a really successful contemporary build that works so incredibly well in the modern day. It's large, but it's so well organised, it feels really, really manageable.
You know, it properly is a jewel in the crown of this incredible landscape, you know, from the coloration right through to the really impressive landscaping.
It really is a beautiful house for the modern day.
Our next homeowner has created her own vision of the future in the design of her impressive escape from the city.
A design ethos that harnesses passive solar power, therefore having minimal impact on the environment. And I am desperate for a look inside.
Architect Vanessa Fong built her family's cabin with a very clear vision that disrupted traditional notions of what residential space should be.
Forward-thinking in design, materials and sustainable architecture, Vanessa's cabin is the dream escape of the future. Hey, Vanessa.
Hey!
Hey! How you guys doing?
Good, really good.
Good,
Vanessa
welcome.
and friends.
But yeah. Got my buddies here.
You know, we're expecting a little slice of the future, and it totally delivers. It's got great lines. It kind of looks like a small regional airport.
Yeah, we got the big landing here.
When you were planning this place, obviously that was your big kind of kick-off point, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What was the logic, though, that made you decide this is how I'm going to create my home?
There was a lot of studying the landscape, studying the sun and the location of the sun in the different times of the year. We really wanted the land to help shape this building as well, hence the stepped down lower deck following the line of the bedrock. And then we also stepped the roof lines up to allow the eastern light into the cabin. So the sun and the landscape really helped influence the major design moves.
Traditionally, it was easy to kind of blast a piece of the rock out and stick your house in really nicely. The sensibility now is that the rock is a very valuable and precious found condition. Architects are really interested in finding ways of working with the found condition. It's more challenging, but in the end, the results could be wonderful.
I've been on a lot of decks, but I've never seen something that's got such a tremendous overhang. And it's when you actually look here, it just gives you this fabulous outline of a much bigger property.
The structure itself is a steel superstructure, and that allowed us to get these nice big overhangs that we wanted. The canopy allows for us to be in the shade and shade the cabin during those hot summer months. But then in the wintertime, the sun allows in because the canopy is so high up.
I mean, for all the scale of this magnificent home, it doesn't feel in any way overbearing or overpowering. And I think that's because it's almost like the trees are coming right into this space.
We actually cantilevered the deck out so that the footings would be 10 feet back and we wouldn't have to cut down as many trees so that we can maintain a lot of that landscape and the privacy that surrounds the property.
I love the coloration that you've got with the lovely pale wood underfoot and then this really dramatic black. How did you do this? Is this a varnish or what's the finish?
So this is shusugiban. So it's a Japanese method where you burn the wood and char the outside of the wood, and it sort of helps sort of embalm it and protect the wood itself.
And was that new for the area? You know, do you have to go to your contractor out here? You know, because we're in a kind of rural area, and you say, OK, we're going to have some shisugiban out here.
So ironically, there is a mill worker just 20 minutes from here who had sort of refined the process of making shisugiban. So we clad the entire cabin out of it.
Some homes feel, in the best possible way, trapped in the past. Some homes are all about living for the present.
Yeah.
But then you find a home like this that, to me, feels like it's a dream home for the future. I'd love to see inside, Vanessa, because out here is just gorgeous, but I feel so tempted.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go in.
The story continues, you know, simplicity is strength. Beautiful lines in here, and just a wonderful feel-good factor.
Thank you. Yeah, we really wanted an open concept plan, knowing that we'll have big gatherings and big family dinners and parties. As an open concept, sometimes you end up with these really big bowling alley spaces. So being elevated, you're still visually connected to whoever's, you know, having a cocktail down in the living room space. So there's still a sense of connection, but the differentiation in the levels also helps define the spaces itself. The staircase that wraps and turns into a bench also creates a really dynamic space for kids to play in. They're either hiding underneath the bench or they're using that upper level as a stage to perform on. So it's become this really flexible space.
I think my favourite aspect in here is everything. But if I had to pick one thing, it would be the incredibly generous windows. That is just such an important aspect that gives you such an amazing view of the dream vista.
All the windows were treated very simply without a lot of casements or anything so that the focus is all on the view.
It becomes like an infinity of space, and I suppose having the same medium on the ceiling and on the walls blurs the lines so you've no idea where the corners are.
Exactly, exactly.
What also is fantastic in here is the way that you've accentuated all the height lines. For example, massively tall doors, the wonderful elevation of tile behind the fireplace. All of those things really take your eye up and remind you that this is a really well-composed, dramatic space with lots of vertical interest.
Exactly.
Thermal issues are really important, particularly in a building where there is so many big windows. So how do you actually balance heat? What's warming the cabin?
So we have in-floor radiant heating, which is a very energy-efficient way of heating space because essentially you have water tubes in the floor and a pump that just basically pumps hot water through the floors. We also made sure to place windows strategically to allow sun in where you need it, but at the same time architecturally block out the sun for those summer months when you don't want it to be heating the building.
And you don't have air conditioning?
There's no air conditioning.
Which is incredible because it's a really warm day out there today and there has been a lot of sunshine.
Yeah.
But standing in here, I feel as if I'm in a really temperate and cooled environment. Sometimes you can walk into somewhere that's modern and it feels in some way awkward. This doesn't in any way feel complicated or awkward. It feels really refreshing, invigorating and exciting. And I would say that homes like this are indeed a vision for the future.
I don't know about you, Justin, but I am ready to teleport into the future as long as it's designed by Vanessa.
I'll join you on that journey, Colin, because clearly she is an absolute master of all things modern contemporary architecture.
She talks about her home in such a relaxed, humble way and then delivers this. This is a really future-forward property, very family-friendly, very user-friendly, and it creates a really great space to be.
I feel a real connection between Vanessa's work and Mother Nature's work. And if you can pull those things off together, then that's a successful job.
There are some homes that offer you the opportunity to escape the city, and there are some homes that offer you the opportunity to escape the present. This is time travel.
So 3 very different homes, each of which references a different period in time. One from the past, one from the present, and one built for the future.
Some people live in heritage homes that pay homage to the past. Mara's taken that to the next level. It's like a museum. Her previous home perfectly preserved and like a moment in time.
Wendell and Denise have built a home that really references the farmhouse in which they lived before they decided to move to the lake. It's warm and atmospheric. It's a cavernous home, but it's also particularly relevant for modern-day contemporary lifestyle in the present day.
And finally, it was fast-forward into the future with Vanessa's beautiful building that is testament to all things that are modern and wonderfully in harmony with nature.
So 3 very different properties, but they each share one thing in common. They're all great escapes.
On Great Escapes, we're going to travel the wilderness on the hunt for unique architectural design.
I'm Colin McAllister.
And I'm Justin Ryan.
We're designers and have travelled the globe renovating houses and adding our own unique flair to other people's homes.
Now, we love the great outdoors and the idea of embracing the wilderness into your home. And in fact, just how far people will go to achieve precisely that.
Building an escape in the woods presents magnificent opportunities for individual design, but also unique challenges to work in harmony with the surroundings.
Add to that an extreme climate, from blistering hot summers to teeth-chattering winters, and these escapes must combine splendour with functionality.
We're going to explore properties that take that challenge head-on as we investigate homes that celebrate the landscape and work with the environment in interesting and distinctive ways.
Wood, of course, has been used in the construction of properties for centuries. No surprises there.
But have you ever wondered why people choose this beautiful natural material as their go-to when building their dream homes?
Now, in this episode, we'll be looking at how homeowners have used wood in some really interesting and indeed some very unique ways.
And of how they've used different varieties of timber specifically during the construction process.
One devotee of all things timber rebuilt a family cottage to be united with the woods.
I wanted to bring the forest to me.
Another breathed new life into a historic wood lodge, preserving the timber and the nostalgia.
How many little cottages altogether?
There are 16 of them. Some of them had trees growing inside them.
That's a huge undertaking.
It was massive.
And lastly, one couple found the perfect plot of land upon which to build their dream wood-wrapped escape.
There was a lot of searching to find this little gem. You can trust me on that.
This is vast. For many, family holidays consist of spending way too much time in airports and airplanes.
Which doesn't sound very relaxing to me, which is why, in fact, our next homeowner removed from her life all the stresses associated with travel.
And decided to immerse herself and her family entirely in nature, surrounded by stunning forest and using wood in the construction and interior of her lakeside home.
Which takes forest bathing to a whole new level.
Forest bathing, or Shinrin-yoku, is the Japanese practice of simply being in nature. Slowing down to soak in the smells, the sights, the sounds, and being a part of the forest is considered medicine, a tonic to heal the weary soul.
And that's just what Lynn and her family were looking for, a family cabin nestled in nature where they could escape to be together.
So Lynn and her husband found a perfect plot of woodland and designed a low-maintenance space that kept family and the forest at the forefront.
The cabin is clad in locally milled pine, which was chosen to blend into the forest in which it sits. Well, I'll tell you what, Lynn, being lost in the forest is a dream way to live.
I mean, you really are tucked away here.
The concept was to build something new, but not to conquer the forest.
That's a great way to look at it.
This was my dream, to have a cottage for my family, and I would see them as often as possible.
And has it brought you together? Do you actually spend a lot of time here as a family?
100%.
So essentially, you've built something, and I'll say it looks slightly Scandinavian. It's not typical of this part of the country at all.
I used a lot of my Baltic Scandinavian heritage, so they love this clean line.
It is very modern, even with the sloping, beautiful roof there. But it feels very natural, you know, because it's made of timber.
I do believe that in the forest, you have to use forest materials.
That it seems to be two houses staggered back. What's the story behind that?
We're allowed to do two-story, but second story has to be further from the lake. In the end, I think it worked better with the overall vision of the house because this actually made it softer and more natural.
I love the fact that you've got a covered kind of like outside area over there, this incredible outdoor space and an incredible shape as well.
So I want to find out, Lynn, why did you choose not to have a big deck at the front of the building?
Can you imagine looking outside these windows and see a deck, chairs, a lot of like personal stuff? Why not to cut this mess and see the grass and then the lake and then you're above the lake? I really want you to see inside.
May we?
Okay, please.
I think it's really important to think about a building within its environment. And that means really that you think about both the inside and the outside as actually being kind of the same thing, that the landscape is actually as important or maybe even more important than the building is.
You know, Lynn, I can see exactly what you mean by not having a deck. Because you have this unbroken view, this incredible connection to the water. It feels so close.
I wanted to bring the forest to me.
It feels so incredibly well balanced. Big, long, stretched kitchen there, big, stretched dining table, two really comfortable seating zones.
Yeah, because when you're at the cottage, you want rest or eat. Everything else you're doing outside.
One of my favorite things about this space is the fact that you have mixed so many types of timber. What have you actually got in here?
Pine on ceiling, and then a local mill created those columns from the whole cedar trees, and veneer is maple.
Good veneer now is assembled in such a way that it's a really thin film of real wood assembled over a less expensive wood, so economically it makes sense. It works
it's a great
really well.
mix, isn't it? You know, like pine, cedar, and maple. Just a really nice mix.
It's forest.
So it seems that functionality is really important to you. You know, you walk in here, and it is very clean and very pared back, and you don't have a lot of accessories. You don't seem to like clutter at all.
I had this idea to make space as simple as possible and utilize everything. So I actually pushed the refrigerator underneath the staircase, and it's not overpowering the living room.
The precision of the veneer of the kitchen doors is so well executed. I imagine that's been cut from one long piece.
Yes, a huge log.
Just sliced it, like wafer thin.
Yeah.
We get this incredible sense of distance, but also luxury as well in a very understated way.
Good architecture should also surprise you, and there's this big, overwhelming sense of wood everywhere, yet an unexpected twist with the metal staircase.
It is holding the whole structure. So it's placed on a piece of rock.
So that's not just a staircase that takes you from one zone to another. It's an architectural component of the building, a spine, if you like, that strengthens the overall structure.
What's upstairs? How many bedrooms do you have here?
It's 4 bedrooms, 2 master bedrooms, and 2 double rooms.
What you've created is a wonderful family escape.
What's amazing about this space is you talked outside about the family getting together. You could see how you could easily bring in, I don't know, 25 people into this space. It must be amazing when everyone's here and there's that buzz.
It's not only amazing, but it's actually my dream come true.
So the big question, Lynn, what do you dream for when your dream comes true?
For my family to be happy. It's the most important part.
So Lynn is a real creative, but she was battling the best creative of them all, Mother Nature, who has done this incredible topography, that wonderful forest and that wonderful water and sky. Yet she's really respected all of that. She's wrapped her home in natural wood, and she's created an environment within which a wonderful family life can take place.
Yeah, I think the message is don't compete with nature, embrace her.
Now, for most people, the idea of buying a rundown resort with trees literally growing through half of the buildings would have them running for the hills.
Not so with our next owner. Oh, no, she made it her mission to reuse as much as possible from the original property. Onward, Justin.
Tally-ho! When Fiona McKean got word that the historic wood lodge of her childhood memories was up for auction, she and her husband put in a bid, a knee-jerk decision based entirely on nostalgia.
They signed on for a massive renovation to preserve the past, but also propel the hotel into the future.
Nowadays, the lodge is restored and renewed with gleaming wood floors and weathered warm timbers that make a welcome escape for anyone dreaming of a rural getaway.
This property gives a clear nod to French Creole architecture, which typically featured timber frames, generous galleries, and broad rooflines supported with light decorative wooden beams.
Hello, it's so great to meet you. Thanks so much for coming to the Epinicon.
Thanks for having us, Fiona. Now, you've got a big kind of connection to this place, going back to when you were a teeny little girl. Can you give us a bit of background?
Yes, so I had a cottage close by, and in my memory, it's very sort of tunnel vision. I went straight to the ice cream shop, mint green walls, you know, waffle cone smell, the whole 9 yards, and I had no concept that there was this beautiful main lodge, the rolling grounds.
So how long has there actually been a building on this site for?
Well, it goes back to the 1870s. So this middle part here was the original house. And then at the turn of the century, it was sold to a Welshman, and he's the one that put the wings onto the facade of the main building. So if you look at the pictures from that time, it looks remarkably like it does today.
I see lots of different cabins. How many little cottages altogether?
There are 16 of them.
16?
And, you know, when I first got the place, some of them had trees growing inside them. It had been closed for several years.
Right, so if this was in terrible condition, that's a huge undertaking.
It was massive.
I just love how you're trying to preserve something from the past.
So it was really trying to preserve as much as I could, given all the limitations of, you know, what state the building was in and what we needed for building code and everything else.
This is a timber structure, isn't it?
Yes, it
This
is.
house is made of wood.
Balloon frame construction, yeah.
Well, let's get in there.
Can we have some?
Come on in, let me show you.
Well, this doesn't disappoint, does it? So how much in this space has actually changed?
Plenty has changed in this particular space. You know, once we started ripping down walls and having a look behind all the nooks and crannies, it was really in terrible shape. It was really only the dining room that was almost wholly salvageable. And it's a lovely place with the light streaming in. The staircase used to be over here. So when I moved the staircase, I made sure it was the same newel post, the same railings, the same scalloped edge to the staircase. If it wasn't the specific piece, then it was an ode to that piece. Because this was a family home, it was pretty chopped up. All the rooms got taken out. Now we have the pub on one wing, the restaurant as it was for the most part, and upstairs we've got a little tiki lounge and an event hall, so there's lots of different ways that we can use it.
It really does have a sense of nostalgia.
Well, nostalgia, that's what makes memories so precious. That's what really gets our brains thinking about what's around us, how things are happening, and all the sights and smells. That's what triggers your memory, and that's what makes it a memory for a lifetime.
This is magnificent, but I'd love to see the cabins as well.
Absolutely. Let me take you out there.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Oh, now, this is glorious contrast, because down in the lodge, it's really big and airy and expansive. In here, it's all about cozy and atmospheric. It's really beautiful.
It's just a perfect little timber jewel box, isn't it?
I love it in here. It feels very welcoming, very warm, very cozy.
Building with wood is fairly ideal. It's a renewable resource. If farmed properly, it is an environmentally friendly resource to use in construction. It's affordable, and it can be quite beautiful. As you layer in different types of wood with different properties, they'll add a layer to a design that is quite magical.
The colour of the timber in here, tell me that's natural, that's original.
It is absolutely original, and every one of the cottages has sort of aged differently over time. They all have this gorgeous patina, but they're all slightly different shades. So it was really, each cottage had to have its own furniture, its own drapery, its own things, just to keep it nice and cozy feeling.
There's a real skill, Fiona, to plunder the past and make it really work for the modern customer.
There's something about the smell of the old wood that is just very grounding.
Yeah,
and it's
I know.
not a smell that you can naturally or artificially create. It has to be, and it's part of the history of the place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what is it about timber, that is just so evocative?
It's the comfort, it's the charm, it's a little oasis.
These little cabins are just spectacular because they're so atmospheric.
Do you know what I love about this? It's my favourite thing about this room. The fact that it's pine. When you think about what people think about pine, yellow pine and how icky it was and how out of fashion it fell, and then suddenly you see this honey-dipped, weathered, with history. Bring back pine, I say.
I am pro-pine, yes.
You've created a place that they can all come and feel good, and that's something that not everybody can do, Fiona.
Absolutely. You know what? You can do everything with design, but if you don't have the perfect host, you're not going to have the perfect vacation.
The real intention is to make memories that will last a lifetime, to create an atmosphere where people can relax, where their brains can actually absorb what's around them and really enjoy what they're taking in.
I think what you've done, Fiona, is really quite magical.
Thank you. I'm really pleased with how it all turned out.
So this is why, isn't it? Perfect little pinch-me moments like this at the end of the day, watching the sun go down. It's all about this. Dealing with a heritage home has its own set of problems, but Fiona has managed this beautifully. It doesn't feel like a museum. There's a nice sense of nostalgia, but at the same time, it's not lurking in the past.
There's enough of the past to make it feel like a period property, but there's enough of a modern sensibility to make it feel so usable and so workable for the present day.
I love the way she's preserved the heritage. She's held on to all the beautiful old timbers in the cabin. She has echoes of the past here, heartbeats from the past, but she's brought them bang into the 21st century.
Most people struggle with one project. She's done it to the power of 10. This next home is a bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing, though it's got to be said, it sits incredibly comfortably in this beautiful forested landscape.
Aye, appearances can be deceiving because the frame of this home is entirely constructed from steel.
Indeed it is. However, our lovely homeowners concealed the steel under a lovely wooden framework, so you don't even know that that metal skeleton exists.
After an exhaustive search, Sean and his wife Charlotte found a perfect spot upon which to build their dream home.
With 3 unspoiled acres and 700 feet of waterfront, they loved the lot and wanted to leave the land and its trees as untouched as possible.
But building in the middle of a dense thicket required some creative planning and a steel will.
Guys!
Hi, how are you?
What about this place? It's absolutely massive. What is it about people who find these little pockets of perfection in the middle of nowhere?
There was a lot of searching to find this little gem. Trust me on that. It started off, we kept finding beautiful lots, not so nice properties, beautiful properties, not so nice lots. So we expanded and said, we're crazy enough, let's build.
So you built this from scratch?
We did.
This is absolutely breathtaking, and I think the first thing that comes to mind is the colour, because it really does complement the tree stock here. You know, what was the thinking behind that?
This is called dark red Meranti. It's from Indonesia, and what we're trying to do is, you know, colors of the trees kind of blending in, because it's a very square structure.
In terms of overall square feet, what we're looking at?
4,100 square feet.
Wow, that's a biggie.
Yeah,
I'd like to know how long that place took to build.
Well, actually, the structure was 6 days, 5 guys with drills.
If you 6 days?
6 days.
How can that be real? Is this a kit home?
No, it's something a little different. It's a steel structure.
Yes, recycled steel, which is even better.
So minimal impact on the environment.
Respecting Mother Nature. No garbage, no bins.
Do you know which particular steel things were recycled? Where'd they come from?
He talked about airplane wings.
Your house is built from bits of airplanes.
The head of that company actually came from Bombardier. And he said, we're going to build houses like we build airplanes. That precise.
That's incredible, because it's almost like a kit house, you know, in that everything arrives in parts. But you're designing something that is for you, that's not a kit.
One of the features of this house was Charlotte's walk-in closet. That's what this is.
That is that.
It is.
Box.
It is.
That's my closet.
What we did is we designed it for the inside out. So the usable space inside we wanted to be to our liking. And then the outside, it was just a matter of making sure that it flowed.
But to create a building like this, what were the big obstacles that you had to kind of deal with?
The drive-in.
The road.
No
question.
Yes.
Because that actually is your own private road.
It is.
To get in here, you know, which sounds like super posh and kind of escapist. We have our own roads. And then you think, OK, we're on a dirt track and we're trying to build a steel structure home in all weathers. You know, what's the reality of that like?
You really realize how long 1.3 kilometers is. The year we built, we decided that we wanted to see torrential rainfalls.
Oh my goodness, yes.
70 millimeters in an hour.
And how did you deal with that? Because when Mother Nature plays her really horrible hand, it can really impact so dramatically on the build.
Well, the foundation, the day they were coming to put the cement in the foundation, it was flooded.
Oh, wow.
Literally flooded.
So how did you get through that?
And we had a mother snapping turtle where the front door is.
Thought it was another lake.
Trying to lay her eggs.
OK, I'm moving in here.
When nature takes over, right?
Fortunately, it drains excellent, and a day later it was dry and they could actually come in and lay the foundation.
Oh,
But, yeah.
fantastic. How important is that relationship between the great outdoors and Mother Nature's work and what you do with your home structure?
We want outside in.
Right.
It's that simple.
It's the beauty, it's just the impressiveness of everything that, yes.
Well, I'd love
yes.
to have a look inside if we can, because it's spectacular
Please
outside. I can
do.
only imagine the joys that lie beyond.
More than welcome.
Can we have a look?
Come on in.
Thank you.
So big on the outside, and I'm glad that you actually haven't boxed it up too much on the inside, because this is vast. So there's no evidence of steel in here either.
Oh, actually, there is.
Oh, there is.
We purposely wanted to see these, and they turned them into a beautiful architectural black.
I love that. But everything else is concealed underneath the drywall
It is.
and the granite and the slate and everything. Yeah.
True.
There's a really lovely and very tangible connection between the outside and the in.
I think what you'd build is a public space of the cottage related to the landscape in some kind of profound, important, significant way. Anyone's memory of the place would have been established by the character and quality of that room and its relationship to the landscape.
What's the secret to so successfully bring the outside in?
Windows.
Now, when you're building a property of this scale with a steel structure, does that allow you to really go big on the window installation?
No limitations with windows. The only limitation is every 5 feet you're going to need your bones in between. We knew the view we wanted. It's between a couple of rock outcroppings outside, so it designed it for us.
I mean, it does seem that this house is a real celebration of wood. You've got the ash steps, you've got the walnut floor, you've got the mahogany kitchen, and then in the corner over in the dining area, that huge big woody bird. What's the story with that fella?
Well, that sculpture actually stands where the original tree stood. We had to cut a big tree down. It was one of our white pines. But what we did is we recycled it and we turned it into this beautiful sculpture.
That's a lovely provenance to have something that used to be in the property or on the property now retooled as a fantastic statement piece in the corner of your dining room. I like the mix as well. I mean, oftentimes people get really freaked out at the prospect of using lots of different wood types in their home. There are lots of trees in a forest, and they all play together and look wonderful as part of the overall picture.
And guys, you have 2 staircases in here, perfectly balanced, but what's going on in both these zones?
Well, what we wanted is a common area here where we can all communicate. And then because we have 5 daughters and grandchildren, we wanted our space not to communicate with their space.
Everyone can have privacy. You know, you're together when you need to be, but you can obviously separate.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that was really central because we wanted to make this place livable and enjoyable. And we really took the time to plan that part of it out.
I love being in rooms where you can look into the corners and see the sky. You know, there's just a wonderful sense of infinity.
Well, when you have the whole family sitting around, it's nice to be able to have a view no matter where you're sitting.
And in this type of home, it's all about community, isn't it? It's about bringing people together. So it's not just sitting down and eating. Everyone's involved in the creation, getting the table ready. And so I'm sure that there's a wonderful sense of family and industry in this space.
There is, there is.
You found this spot. You searched long and hard to find the perfect place. And only then did you give over to the opportunity.
This really is a case of living the dream properly.
True, very true.
Do you know, Charlotte and Sean played this really carefully. They spent a lot of time trying to find the right property, and when they found it, they started to plan. And I've always said to fail to plan is to plan to fail. They were really careful in how they put their ambition together, and the realization of that is a rather incredible metal-framed Indonesian wood-clad beauty that stands proudly at the side of the water with this incredible vista.
It's got a great sense of harmony. You know, it's really at harmony with its surroundings, and you truly do feel connected to the great outdoors. 3 incredible houses that all share one thing in common, a love of timber in its many forms. It's a simple message, isn't it? If you're looking to connect with nature, if you want to escape the city, then timber is certainly the way to go.
Wood is certainly good.
Now, house number 1, we visited Lynn in her timber chalet. You know, she had a really simple message, and it was all about family. It was all about bringing people together, you know?
Fiona at the Oppinicon. Her vision was all about nostalgia.
You know, timber really does create an escapist atmosphere in that resort. A beautiful heritage property that has been restored, ready for the 21st century.
And finally, Sean and Charlotte's home. So it looked like a wooden house, but in actual fact, underneath that wooden cladding and that exterior lay a steel skeleton.
I can't believe that it took just 6 days to construct the frame of that home.
3 very different projects, but at the end of the day, they all share one thing in common. They're all great escapes.
On Great Escapes, we're going to travel the wilderness on the hunt for unique architectural design.
I'm Colin McAllister.
And I'm Justin Ryan.
We're designers and have travelled the globe renovating houses and adding our own unique flair to other people's homes.
Now, we love the great outdoors and the idea of embracing the wilderness into your home. And in fact, just how far people will go to achieve precisely that.
Building an escape in the woods presents magnificent opportunities for individual design, but also unique challenges to work in harmony with the surroundings.
Add to that an extreme climate, from blistering hot summers to teeth-chattering winters, and these escapes must combine splendour with functionality.
We're going to explore properties that take that challenge head-on as we investigate homes that celebrate the landscape and work with the environment in interesting and distinctive ways.
You know, we talk about escaping the city. How about totally immersing yourself in nature?
Well, that's a really lovely observation. And I reckon as human beings, it's our responsibility to learn how to live in harmony with the great outdoors, which is what we're going to be looking at today.
These properties are fully embedded in nature. They're part of the landscape, seeming to grow organically from the foliage, while still respecting the ecology of their location.
We'll be visiting an historic estate whose perfectly preserved grounds boast trees and plants older than the home.
The house has just been embraced by nature. It's almost like a big natural hug.
Another island property whose surrounding terrain was pivotal to the design of the home itself.
It's embedded cleverly into the landscape. I really feel that I've dipped right down into a special hidden world.
And we'll meet homeowners who designed their house to stand up for nature.
You are the best neighbours anyone can ask for. You don't even want to upset the wildlife that are here.
Oh, come on, let's be honest. Who wouldn't dream of wandering the meticulously maintained grounds of a century estate, especially one on its own private island?
Complete with a 16,000 square foot, 14-bedroom manor. This is more than enough space for all of your friends and family.
No, that sounds like heaven and earth, Colin, but for most people, it's got to be said that would be little more than a fantasy. But for our first homeowners, they turned that dream into full-blown reality.
30 years ago, while boating on the river, Dr. Wallace Stonehouse fell in love with the stately home seemingly wrapped in the island.
After a lengthy process, Wally purchased the property. He and his wife Patricia have refreshed the manor with a special focus on preserving the mature beauty of the grounds.
The gardens invite you deeper inland, revealing stone foundations of a great house erupting from the ground. Built in 1903, the manor reclines into its environment as the surrounding trees shield it from the elements.
The veranda is the vantage point from which to truly appreciate how the house is rooted into the island.
Guys, so fantastic to meet you, and thank you for having us in this pocket of paradise. This place is unbelievable.
There's something about this that feels so incredibly welcoming. How long have you had the property for?
This is my 32nd year that we've been here, so it's been a good friend for a long period of time.
You know, there are island houses out there, and then there are grand island houses. This is definitely grand. A house like this, you know, you become a custodian, not an owner. You're looking after it for future generations.
That's a very good terminology, the idea of saying you're a custodian. The house has been here 116 years, and you try to make it as original as possible when you redo it. It's like fixing an old classic car.
So you're a bit of a preservationist then. You've taken everything that was here before and made it relevant and useful now, and you've reworked the old flower beds, the pathways, all of those old links from one part of the property to the next.
It's an incredibly beautiful house. The island is magnificent, and I love the way that it sits in nature. The planting is really natural. It enhances the whole experience. What's your favourite part of the house?
Definitely the veranda.
It's just so comfortable to sit there and relax, and you look out over the water. It's protected. We live on the veranda.
May we go up and have a little wander?
By all means.
Certainly.
Verandas, as we know them, are an architectural feature brought over from England to the New World in the 1600s.
A refined way with which to enjoy the outdoors without being a slave to the harsh elements. Now they're a staple of domestic architecture worldwide.
Days gone by, I'll tell you what, it's like walking through another time era. The gardens are so lovely and traditional, as is this incredible veranda.
You must spend all your time in this spot.
We do, especially in the corner over there, which we refer to as Wally's Corner. We sit there all the time. It's our happy hour place. We spend all our time outside dining.
It's really obvious as you walk around that somebody has really lavished a whole load of love on this place because the horticulture is fantastic. Obviously, you're working within the framework of the trees that have been here for hundreds of years, but you've enhanced that with incredibly well-planted shrubbery. It's almost like a big natural nature hug. The house has just been embraced by the landscape.
I just like to put white flowers everywhere, lots of greenery, make it look natural. Without being too formal. I think it has to be a little rugged. Plus, it would be very hard to keep it real manicured.
The whole idea of building buildings that were summer only, that took advantage of shade, breeze, access to water, to create a cooler environment for people to enjoy, began in the 1880s. People wanted to enjoy the summer weather and not be caught in the urban environment.
Well, I guess now we've seen your dream veranda. I'd love it if you show us what's going on inside this remarkable property.
Be my pleasure.
You can't have a home like this without all these beautiful details. What's it like living here in this space?
It's wonderful. It's great because it's very spacious. It's just a joy to
Except
live
we
here.
sometimes lose each other.
Well, once in a while we use each other.
This is a big house. What are we looking at here? Number of bedrooms, bathrooms?
Well, the house is about 16,000 square feet, 5 stories. We have 14 bedrooms, 10 bathrooms.
14 bedrooms?
Yeah. It's big. It's very big.
For me, it's all about the detailing, that coffered ceiling. Nothing's flat, it's all layered. Those were the days when architectural confetti was the thing that brought the property alive. There's something wonderful to enjoy everywhere.
Classic just lasts forever and never goes out of style.
It does. It really does. Like, we haven't changed very much here. So many of the things are the way they were 100 years ago. So we've just, added some paint and cleaned things up a bit. That's really about it.
How do you actually express yourselves and make it your home?
Well, I think a good example would be the kitchen. About 9 years ago, we decided to redo the kitchen. We lifted 2 layers of linoleum up to expose the wooden floors. We maintained the original cabinets from when it was built. We didn't want to put some glitzy kitchen with chandeliers that just wouldn't work here. We try to keep a lot of the features, but modernize it so that it works for us.
It is a summer house, and it has this great sense of summer. There's loads of glass. The connection to the outside is amazing. And modern architecture strives to do that. But it's nice to see that even back in the day, they managed to achieve that, and get a balance between something that feels incredibly ornate, but kind of recedes into the background and gives you the sense of being at one with nature. This house is going to mature as beautifully as the nature that surrounds it.
We hope so.
When you're living in a home that's of historic interest, you've got to be really, really careful, or you can obliterate all the things that give it its actual interest to start with.
I actually think that this house contributes to the beauty here. The owners are custodians of a beautiful temple of the past. They don't want to upset a natural rhythm that this house has been on since the day it was constructed. And that feels to me like the true meaning of this house being embedded in nature. It's here on this beautiful island. It will age and mature just as the trees will.
Effectively, what they've done is create the ultimate dream home.
You know, Justin, I really love traveling by boat. You get a true sense of escapism.
And it's a great way to arrive against a beautiful backdrop such as this. The rolling hills, the hay bales, the wildflowers. It almost feels Scottish, almost familiar.
There's a Highland cow, and there's a beautiful house.
Better have a look, come on.
20 years ago, Kevin and Carol needed a little more nature in their lives, so they decided to build a waterside vacation home.
A young, up-and-coming architect firm caught their eye, and together they designed and built an escape to highlight the pastoral plains upon which it sits.
Well, it's an amazing place, Kevin. I love the location, but the house is just such an automatic visual draw for me.
Just seems to fit perfectly into the landscape. You know, there's that beautiful greenery above, and then you've got that incredible line of concrete. It's like your architect has just drawn a line through nature and set a rule.
Yeah, it is quite impressive. And the building itself is quite relaxing to live in, but it's also quite spectacular to look at as well.
It's a feat of engineering, but it's also embedded cleverly into the landscape because of the coloration and the fact that there's a living roof. I want to know about the practicalities of a living roof. What kind of upkeep does that take?
It's not too bad at the moment. It needs weeding once or twice a year, but other than that, we don't go up there at all.
I love that, you know, because this man-made structure suddenly becomes a living entity. It changes with nature, it changes with the seasons.
Absolutely.
There's also a real Japanese influence here as well, with the gravel and the pavers over there. All the water reflecting so beautifully against the glass. Even the raised second level of the house looks kind of like a soji screen.
It is a little bit, yes. What Shim Sutcliffe does, I think, is very nice, is that they do clean, modern architecture with a lot of texture to it.
I like that there's a sense of privacy out here because we're almost in a dip. Was this natural or did you landscape it that way?
The house itself, as you can see, is cut into a wedge of the land, and the retaining wall there is holding back the upper side. But over and above that, the grass you can see is actually a berm that was created, and all this slight undulation here was landscaped and designed.
I really feel that I've dipped right down into a special hidden world where I can't see the outside world going on. We've seen all this lovely stuff outside. We'd love a peek indoors, may we?
Absolutely. Come on in and see the inside.
I think that the design experience actually begins when you enter the property, not the house. And how you move through the landscape and then through the house and then probably back out into the landscape again is actually the bigger idea. This kind of journey is actually the most important part of the experience that you are creating.
The house is spectacular from the outside, and you get in here and it is positively breathtaking. It's almost like there's an equation of how they've managed to actually combine nature with construction, because there's so much going on in here. Strong lines, huge towering kind of double height elements, but because it's all balanced, it just feels friendly and natural.
Yes, it is. Even though it's a structural design, it's actually very soft as well. There is a real assemblage of different materials, different effects that all come together into a coherent package.
I think there's a real honesty to a building like this as well, because oftentimes when people are building homes, they want to hide all the structural elements. Yet over here, I'm seeing that fantastic piece of steel. Across there as well, I'm seeing those two supporting posts.
Yes.
Many people would chicken away from that and cover them in, but they've embraced the fact that they're an integral part of this building and they've brought it into the party.
Yes, I agree. Many years, relatively young age, I've wanted to build a house from scratch with an architect, but I've moved around with my career, and this has been the first real opportunity to do it from scratch.
I can see, obviously, the living room, I can see the kitchen and the dining. What else lies beyond?
So the living room is the center of the house. The chimney is actually the pivotal center. There's a bedroom wing down there, master bedroom down at the end. And we have a guest bedroom, but it's Carol's den now. On the lower level, we have 2 more bedrooms.
OK, so in terms of total square footage, remind me?
1,300 on this floor and about 600 underneath.
So it's not enormous, but it feels really spacious. What's your favourite aspect?
I think my favourite spot is sitting in that chair over there and looking out through the windows. It's really quite beautiful.
These windows, they're your artworks because they depict that fantastic view.
That's true.
I think the fact that there's a transparency everywhere, you're actually fooled into thinking that you're outside.
This house blends with nature extremely well. And this room particularly has the water around three sides. You feel as if you're in nature inside. I think one of the things that some people would probably choke at is the raw concrete on the partition there, I think is great.
It could snag your tights, though, couldn't it?
Only in the mornings.
In the mornings,
Yeah, exactly.
only.
The raw concrete is magnificent. The rough nature of it enhances that whole kind of like natural element with something that's man-made.
Yeah.
I think the buzzword here is connection. You found this spot, you became connected to it, and suddenly you have a building that totally delivers a connection to everything outside. You feel totally at one with nature and encouraged to interact with this fantastic outlook. It's a privilege for us to be here, so thank you. You know, it's truly magnificent, isn't it? You know, look at that house. Just splendid in this incredible rural environment.
There's a real feast of finishes inside there, and while they're all very different, they all play very well as part of the overall picture.
It's almost like the architects have designed everything around us, and that this house is the epicenter. Kevin and Carol were the clients here, but there were two sets of architects at work, Shim Sutcliffe and Mother Nature.
Now, this next property was designed to seamlessly blend with the island landscape.
The owners were meticulous about every detail, even down to preserving the habitat of the frogs, turtles, and snakes already living on the property.
Now, that shows dedication to the environment.
Peter Schneider and Richard Almonte had a vision to create a retreat from the city that acknowledged and respected the land upon which it stood.
Their house was built to rest gently on the land to allow local critters to pass through unimpeded. This architectural feature is not dissimilar to the marsh houses of Thailand.
Stilt houses actually have prehistoric roots. Some date back earlier than 10,000 BC. Many early settlers were on the shores of lakes, so raising the structures up protected them from flooding, made for easier fishing, and also provided security.
Still seen in coastal regions around the globe, houses on stilts have practical benefits, but today they can even elevate the architectural dreams of nature lovers.
Look at you two. You got you three. You're like a Bond villain.
Lucy.
Who's
This is Lucy.
She's a gorgeous girl. Guys, you've got an amazing cabin. Tell us a bit about the background.
When we bought the land, it was vacant land, and we said to the architects we want something very simple, like a square with a triangle on top. I wanted it to not elicit too much curiosity. So when you drive by, it just looks like a large shed or barn or other white structure on the island.
Sure. Now, standing here and watching the lines, I can see it slightly raised off the ground. Why have you got that extra elevation?
Practically speaking, building a house on piers is an easy-ish way to build a house, but also it has the benefit of allowing the wildlife to go through. So we've got a turtle nesting area across the road. We've seen fox. We've got snakes that like to live under the deck out front. So we just want it to be friendly to the landscape.
That's amazing. So literally, you are the best neighbours anyone can ask for because you have a discrete building that blends into the environment. You don't even want to upset the wildlife that are here.
No. We want to be friends with everyone.
Which is a great way to look at it as well, because at the end of the day, you guys are living in their world, aren't you? Yeah, it's not the other way around.
You know, it's just beautiful. It's so simple. But then you stand back, you know, and having the little cutouts and the kind of areas in there really makes a huge difference because suddenly you're aware of how sophisticated it actually is.
There's a lot of complexity going on. Like we said, we want a covered porch. We want a large storage area, accessible from the outside, and no outbuildings. Nothing beyond that original shape.
Do you know, it's the long lines that are so appealing. You know, you stand here and it seems like the building just goes on forever.
You've got to know what you're doing, and you've got to plan every little detail of it to pull a project like this together.
Well, and I think that to achieve the simplicity requires a lot of work up front.
Yeah,
and
sometimes
discipline.
less takes longer, doesn't it?
We took our time also. I mean, what you see here didn't go up in 6 months. A lot of people want to spend as little time as possible on building. We had the opposite philosophy. We were like, let's build it over 2 to 3 years, and let's take our time and let's make sure that we get it right.
Yeah, and live in it a couple of seasons while it's being finished.
So you can adapt things if you see
That's
fit
right.
during that build process. It's unusual to see the pale wood siding as well, because most people go for a darker wood in this day.
The white paneling is like a lot of the buildings on the island, the old schoolhouses, but this is actually cement.
All right.
Because we didn't want low maintenance, we wanted no maintenance.
Ah, clever. Okay, good.
That's important, isn't it? You know, because you come here obviously to escape the city.
Yes, very
And the
much
last
so.
thing you want is like a hobby farm of work.
Exactly.
So the coloration changes as you go from that lovely cream on the outside to that lovely warm wood tone inside. Why did you do that?
Well, that was something the architect specified. So it's going from the concrete to the white cedar siding. And what that is intending to do is to make the outside porch feel like a separate room, so that you don't feel like you're outside and exposed. You actually just feel like you're sort of cuddled in this warm wood.
I like that, a woody cuddle.
Yeah, a woody cuddle.
A woody cuddle. I'd love a little look inside if we can, boys. May we?
Absolutely,
Oh,
let's
cheers.
go.
This is just breathtaking. There's such serenity. It feels like a church.
The height and the lines that go about 55 feet, I think those are the two qualities that create that serenity.
What was the idea behind the design in here?
Well, we had sent the architect photos of old schools on the island, and then these turnbuckles up in the ceiling also reminded me of what you see when you look at old churches in Europe. Without a lot of internal pillars, they keep it rigid when the strong winds blow out here in the fall.
So I'm seeing kitchen, dining, living room. What else lies beyond? What other rooms do you have?
We have a master bedroom on this level with an ensuite. And up the stairs, we have a second bedroom for guests, as well as an office/TV room.
In terms of total square footage?
1,300, roughly.
Okay.
Yeah.
It had to be very economical because there isn't space to stretch, but the architects got all of the nuances in that we wanted.
It's very easy to overplay a property, particularly a modern build, and end up with too much going on. But I mean this in the best possible way. There's a Spartanness to this, and I really like that. You haven't overplayed it.
The main characteristic in a dwelling that you want to have more than anything else is intimate space. Space where you feel safe. And then you want a view prospect from there that situates you in that place of comfort in the larger world. That's all you need.
Because you have this kind of white ghost house, you can truly appreciate the colors and textures of everything in here, which makes the smallest thing incredibly strong.
What's your favorite element here?
I think the view. This land was vacant when we bought it, so it hadn't been built on. No one came and tore all the trees down decades ago. And because of that, we inherited those trees, and we sort of feel responsible for keeping them, and we try not to interfere with them.
The tree stock is really great.
Everything about this property is about engaging with the surroundings.
Exactly.
I think what you've done by building that relationship is create what's essentially your dream home.
Feels that way to us.
I agree.
Well, hallelujah. Peter and Richard clearly knew what they wanted. And when they talked to their architect, the result was this incredible, simple, but almost church-like residence.
If you want to live at one with nature and the surroundings, then I think the trick is to blend in. You know, is it a barn? Is it a church? No, it's a beautiful, beautiful escape, but it seems to sit perfectly in this landscape.
Clearly, Peter and Richard are animal lovers and also preservationists. Nature can still pass underneath, unaffected by the addition of this remarkable home.
And that is the difference between living on nature and living in nature.
So 3 wonderfully different vacation escapes. However, they all shared an element in common: wonderful connection to nature.
We visited Pat and Wally in their House of the Seven Gables, perfectly set in nature. It really was the classic case of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They are custodians of a classic piece of architecture, restoring it and saving it for future generations.
Second up, the wonderful Kevin and his modern fusion home. I love that mix of Australian, Japanese and modern mid-century architecture. From landscaping onwards, everything about that property worked incredibly well.
Finally, we visited Peter and Richard in their cabin in nature. It seems to float above the landscape. It's been positioned in place to actually encourage wildlife. It truly is an incredible experience.
So 3 very different vacation respites. However, they all share one thing in common. Oh yes, they're all great escapes.